Hello there! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Final Fantasy Randomizer Spring Tournament here on Randomania. I'm Avos, and joining me in the booth, we've got Jat2980.
Welcome. Looking forward to a great race here. We have a 1-in-3 matchup between Kyuketsuki and Lord-of-the-Synth. Both runners fighting to stay alive, getting a chance at that last chance qualifier. We are in week 5 of the Swiss, 5 of 6, and this week we rolled a random incentive location from the first 4 weeks. So the options were sea, earth, sky, and fire, and this is a repeat of Fire Week. Everything's tuning up to be a great race here. We're just waiting on 1 second while Lord of the Synth just gets ready to ready up, and then we should hit the ground running.
Yeah, while we've got time, we can talk a little bit about their party comps. This was a draft. Kyuketsuki did win the coin toss and elected to get the second and third picks. And Lord of the Synth went right out of the gate with a red mage. Kyuketsuki followed up with 2 more red mages, and Lord of the Synth decided to settle on a black mage. So we've got an all-mage party.
Interestingly enough, before the draft even started, they were deciding if they wanted to have a gentleman's agreement to go all mages. But then Lord of the Synth was a little bit worried about, how that would play out. So he said, you know what, let's go for a traditional draft. And of course, with the last pick, he said, screw it, let's go with the black mage. So hats off to both of them. They're here for some entertainment. They're here for some fun. And hopefully we are as well.
Yes, with all mage parties like this, the speed is heavily dependent on how the magic rolls. If we get something good in level 1 and level 2, we should be fine. But it's it can be a pretty fragile party, especially if that chain armor doesn't roll early.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, with no fighter, with no thief, your melee options can be reduced significantly. So looking out for that mass is even more critical compared to a regular party here. So we're still just waiting here for Lord of the Synth. So what else is interesting about Fire Week, Avos?
So one of the things about Fire Week is because there is an incentive in the volcano, you tend to see a fair amount of canoe before canal. For one thing, there's just more incentives in the inner sea area. If you include the areas only accessible through the canoe. So there's that many more chests to check. Generally speaking, the more items you need to get to an incentive location, the more likely it's going to be not one of the blocking items, right? So the loot tends to roll later. Equipment also usually rolls later, or even loose. It ends up being a lot of trouble, and a lot of people end up going to the volcano not quite prepared. So we'll have to see how both of these runners approach it. It's also possible for the canoe to roll late, and in which case, that's an incentive check that a lot of people like to get out of the way, that is just troublesome to actually get to.
Yeah, absolutely. We've also seen a fair number of canals in Marsh, which can lead to some very interesting routing decisions. And as well, I think one of the critical decisions that you have to make in these seeds, and you kind of touched on it briefly there, is do I dive all the ways down to the bottom floor of the volcano to get that incentive chest? And secondly, once I'm there, do I take on carry 1? Now, if you're coming in late game, which oftentimes people do an armory check, but without that incentive location down deeper, they're not usually going carry 1 in the early game. However, with that fire incentive all the ways down there, if you're without warp or without exit, it can be extremely scary getting back up with that item or fighting carry 1, so you can be put in a really difficult position. And I've been finding that how prepared you are, whether or not you take that risk, and then whether or not carry decides to slap you around can really make or break these runs. So we'll have to stay tuned to see what decisions they make. Do they go Ice Cave? Do they check Volcano and Nope out? Or do they dive deep into the volcano to figure out what's there, what loot is available, and do you try and light that orb? So I think these things are some of the most interesting parts about Fire Week.
That's certainly true, and with these parties especially, levels, while helpful, aren't going to be as meaningful. Usually you have a fighter or even a black belt to tank on the front lines.
Yeah,
so,
and looks like both of our parties are ready, so we're going to drop the gate here and get us on our road in just a second. So what are we hoping here at level 1 Magic if we're the viewers and if we're the runners?
oh well, it really depends. The runners obviously will want to see really nice area of effect magic, your level 2 elemental spells, your level 3 elemental spells, nuke, fade, but the viewers like to see magic that's not as helpful. Oh my gosh, did you see that level 1 magic?
Yeah, so not much going on. We have Lit 2, and we have Quad X, so those are both useful spells. Oh, we also have Fast. Well, Fast will not help as much getting through the early game. And Brack, wow.
Yes, so Brack is the best single target instant kill spell in the game. Quad X, arguably the other competitor. We had Heal 2, which was Red Mage learnable. That'll matter a lot for the Volcano. You end up taking a lot of damage there, and so having that AoE heal can save a lot of time. And houses are expensive.
Yeah, so with no save item here, a little bit riskier, but I think with Lit 2, both runners feel fairly safe to go up and pay Garland a visit.
Yeah, Lit 2 is definitely good enough to get the job done.
And Quad X.
Well, yeah, Quad X definitely. I think normally for me, I go with Lit 2, just because you also have to deal with the mobs if you're going to check the other chests, or the chests in the Temple of Themes, where we start off finding a silver helmet, which is not much good to us.
So, a little route divergence already, and Kyuketsuki skipping the loose canal in the top left. So, Lord of the Synth with a little bit of additional information. Also, other thing of note is there's a pretty nice run off Power Cycle here right away.
Absolutely. And we have the Adamant and the TNT. So, Dwarf Cave, great time to go this time of year.
So will we see the key in the Dwarf Cave to get that, perfect Dwarf Cave? One trip always feels good.
Oh, there's a fair chance of it. It's really nice to just get all of that done in one take. And now we have Lord of the Synth getting his, dwarf travel pack from the King and Sarah.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if Kyuketsuki decides to go back up to Tower of Fiends anytime soon. Something that could happen is if he finds the key, he'll be a little bit more incentivized to go there early.
Looks like he's just taking a couple of fights. I think there's more magic he wanted to buy, so...
Yeah, getting a couple early levels here before braving the high seas, always nice. Although Lit 2 should make short work of anything he finds.
Yeah, so far, this magic is good enough. We also didn't mention level 1 learnable Wall for Red Mage. That's a great spell. It lets you resist all elemental effects. So it can be really important for the end game, especially if you don't find great equipment.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's always nice. Right now, I think both runners are just crossing their fingers for some Red Mage learnable life magic, but other than that, things aren't looking too bad. Still obviously looking for a premier sweeper, one of the elemental 3 magics, or a nuke, or a fade even, because of the triple Red Mage. But other than that, not the worst start for this all-mage party.
Yeah, and I think the routes that both runners are taking right now, pretty reasonable. We've got Kyuketsuki turning in those fetch quest items, and we've got Lord of the Synth heading into Matoya's before checking out Provoca, I assume.
Yeah, both plays making sense. I think the dwarf incentive in this case, there's a lot that is incentivizing the dwarves. However, it always feels bad if you go to Provoca and find that key. So it can still make sense to check Provoca out here first.
It feels bad, but it doesn't feel that bad. It gives you more treasure chests that you can check to get you money in case there's something good, especially in the armor shop. I don't know if either runner checked the armor shop in Cronaria, and if there was any armor that was usable by our party. We're really looking out for that chain armor, because early game Absorb is king. Actually, throughout the whole game, Absorb is very useful to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And our fantastic re-steamer Cyrinus pointing out in chat that Provoca also can feel bad if Crystal was at dwarves. So yeah, there's not really a perfect route through the Inner Sea. It really depends on where all the items are placed. And we're getting our first look at black magic here, and we have not much. Lock 2, a very helpful late game spell I've been finding, but other than that, nothing much. Bane, you know, once again, a utility insta-kill spell, but none of those premier sweepers that you're looking for.
Well, I think Bane is good enough that you can use it for sweeping. You do have to know what's weak to poison and what resists it to get the maximum effectiveness, but it gives you more charges to clear enemies out with.
Lord of the Synth having more than enough though to deal with these pirates.
Absolutely, and kyuketsuki buys a few sets of chain armor just to keep those red mages alive.
Yeah, and that's definitely a nice call. You never know when you're going to find, you know, silver bracelets in the store for sale, or if gold bracelets going to be cheap. So those chainmail gonna last for quite a while here, and it's always nice to have some extra defense, especially because red mages do not have the health scaling that a fighter does.
Well, we've got a power bonk, or the power gauntlet, as it's officially known. That is a good item to see because it's a part of a win condition for the end game. With a party like this, usually your win condition is hope nuke and fade, roll early enough, you just have enough charges to blow through. But the more reliable and common strategy is to just buff up a party member and take down chaos.
Yeah, and we also are seeing some cheap-ish copper bracelets here. Not providing much, but Lord of the Synth was debating if he wanted to pick up a few of those. Significantly less absorb, but removes the evasion penalty. Or at least moves it down to -1.
Yeah, evasion definitely matters, but in this early game, absorb is more of what you're looking for. Absorb being the name for the armor rating, for those unfamiliar.
Yeah, what would commonly be called defense in every game that has followed this.
Yeah, so
runners just kind of retreading each other's paths. We'll get to see some new information shortly here.
Yeah, magic so far, it's interesting. It's not so bad that you regret this party yet, but it's definitely not what you were hoping for. There's a lot of good spells. I know that I personally really like seeing Brack because it means if you end up having to do an early Sea Shrine or an early Sky Cave dive, you have options for defeating the themes there.
Yeah, absolutely. 27% chance, I'll take that most days. Especially when you have so many casters of it. If you have a single black mage, not nearly as nice as when you can have 4 people casting Brack each turn. The odds will eventually turn in your favor. So what's next here? If you're these runners, what are you thinking? One critical difference, of course, is that Lord of the Synth finding that loose canal, kyuketsuki still missing it. So options a little bit more available for Lord of the Synth here. He can go outside, check out Crescent Lake, He can take the long way around. He can go along the bottom coast checking out Elfland, seeing what that level 3 and 4 magic has in store, which will be extremely important as one of the last places that you can consistently get good, solid red mage learnable magic.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting position. For one thing, you have that rod, right? And while you can go to Elfland and check out the level 3 and level 4 magic, I don't think either player has that much money. We've got spells that you could maybe try and do a pop grind, but that's kind of iffy, and a lot of people prefer to do walking grinds. Just take more fights as you go around.
Yes, and walking grind's definitely nice. I think at this point it's kind of just they're gonna have to get some levels slowly unless they find something really solid in level 3 magic. DH Storm asking in chat if there's anything left beside Marsh for progression, and at this point sages are available. If you check the top left chest in Temple of Fiends for the loose canal there. Once again, we are saying the loose canal, but the canal is always loose in these seeds, so there is technically 2 loose plus a loose canal in this seed, so we're still looking for 2 additional loose items.
Right, and you can usually find the loose canal pretty early on because it just blocks off so much of the world that you really need to find it early.
Yeah, unless you find an early canoe, in which case you can be looking at a 45-minute canal and marsh, which has happened more than a few times.
Oh, absolutely. And you can also skip it altogether with an early canoe and floater, but so far that's definitely not happening here.
Yeah, we're definitely not looking at being in the air at 20 minutes unless it's like shop item canoe, say just have floater or some combination of those.
So DH Storm having a follow-up question, there could also asking if there could be a progression item in one of the shops. That is correct. There is exactly one item in a shop called the vendor item, and it can roll to be pretty much anything. One of the few things that can't roll to be the vendor item is the canoe.
So first look at level 3 magic. We have Invis 2 and Exit in white magic, and we have Warp in black magic. So level 3, all the transportation options you could want. However, once again, still no critical, high-level endgame sweeper. Ooh, did you see that?
Ooh, level 4, if I remember correctly, that looks like it.
That is red mage or red wizard learnable life 2. So we're running out of options to be bailed out for life magic. You have 1 slot in Melman for red mage, and that's it. And then after that, we have a few more. We have I think 5 or 6 more slots left for red wizard. So life magic could be off the table here, and very likely it's off the table unless we find that tail and that floater and are able to promote to a red wizard.
Even if it was on the table, we probably want more levels than usual, just because HP is such an important part of staying alive, and the only way to get that is just leveling up your characters.
Yeah, so we have pretty cheap silver bracelets there, just over $2,000, and silver bracelets, pretty good armor here, will get you through most of the early game. They rolled cheaper than half their vanilla price, so that's pretty nice for a party like this, and those silver bracelets, definitely a solid upgrade over the chain mail, being the exact same armor rating, absorb rating, but with no evasion penalty. At this point though, spending money on them is a little bit risky, as once again we still have not found our vendor item. I've seen a few races where grinding for money is so expensive and so dangerous, so spending money on early armor, especially a little bit pricier, and then being unable to buy a shop item can be critical error.
It can be, but at this point, the only other shops that we have access to that could have that vendor item are Crescent Lake and Onrak.
Correct.
Onrak being pretty far away from everything else since it's on the northern continents. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Even with the money we have, if we tried saving up, we're more likely than not unable to afford that item.
So Lord of the Synth looks like he's making the Marsh play here. What do you think of this?
You know, it's a fine play. I think it's a gamble for sure, um, but you can find a lot of things. You know, there's usually at least one item worth keeping in there. And if you're feeling behind or if you're worried about your opponent, it's a solid play to make because a lot of people tend to avoid it.
Yeah. I think it's very, very high risk at this point, finding the canal and with that item in stages available. But once again, we are missing the canoe and the canal. The canoe and the floater. So, you know, it's not like you're likely to be in marsh while your opponent is flying around everywhere. Kyuketsuki, looking for something off the power cycle as a good grind, finds a giant, not exactly what you're looking for.
Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth finding a Bane Sword. That's kind of a nice item. You certainly can't use it to swing at anybody right now, but it's infinite casts of Bane.
Yeah. Lord of the Synth taking a few extra steps there. It's a little bit faster, you're removing a few more encounter possible steps if you run along the bottom there, as steps that are along the bottom of those rooms will not increase the encounter table. So definitely able to just cut out a few steps there. Kyuketsuki, meanwhile, still trying to find something off of these resets. So now he's on a reset instead of the power cycle.
Oh, I can tell you what he's looking for. He's looking for those EXPs.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, something that's interesting to note here, with such a long run off the power cycle, he could check multiple quadrants. So something that's unique about Crescent Lake is it actually sits on the center point of 4 different quadrants. So without the canoe, it's really hard to get into the top left, but he can check, the top right, but he'll be able to check at least 2 or 3, and you could find those EXPs right off of the power cycle in one of those other quadrants.
For sure, and it looks like the Lord of the Synth found whatever he was looking for in Marsh Cave, because he's heading out now.
It may have also just been a top floor Marsh play. We'll see if our tracker says if he found anything else.
Yeah, I think it was just equipment. Obviously, that Bane Sword is a decent enough find. Oh. Yeah, just the Bane Sword, but as DH Storm pointing out in chat, he lost 2 party members and probably didn't want to go through the rest of Marsh Cave on a hope and a prayer.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, that absence of early life magic, early Red Mage learnable life magic, can make a seed extremely dangerous, and Marsh Cave, as many people have experienced, not a safe place, especially for a low-level party here. Kyuketsuki, meanwhile, he's going to turn in the herb, I believe. So he's going back into the inner sea, which is interesting. So what are some of the benefits of going inner sea versus staying on the outside and using the self dock?
I think the main benefit of going through the inner sea rather than the outer is if you roll a fetch quest item for the inner sea, it's a lot easier to get to, right? Like if it ends up rolling the crystal, it's a much more of a pain from the outside. And it's the ruby, so that actually ends up being one of the items where it doesn't matter which side you come up.
Yeah, the ruby's probably one of the only items where it's almost exactly neutral, whether you went on the inside or the outside. Because, the time that you spend coming around, probably a little bit slower still going to the inside, but not a big change, versus, if you get the canoe or something like that and it doesn't turn into the floater, it's going to take a lot longer to get that boat out of the inner sea. Versus if you get the crystal and you don't have the canoe, being in the inside is going to be much faster.
Yep, it could also just be comfort levels with the map edits, all sorts of things. We're getting a look at level 5 magic where we see Cure 4.
Yeah. And I believe that was in the second slot, so that will be Red Wizard learnable, but that's about it.
We've also got Fire 3. Fire 3, decent enough spell, but obviously with our levels and cash reserves, not worth worrying about for now. Still though, other than that Lit 3, we're and obviously Lit 2 at level 1, we're not given a lot to work with in terms of damage spells.
Yeah, so if I were in these players' shoes right now, this is not the ideal mage draft. Now, once again, both players on equal playing. It's an equal playing field here. Both players struggling with the same lack of resources, although they're not completely empty. But you're not feeling comfortable here. Things are not super easy, so you're gonna have to make some tough decisions. Grind a few extra levels. Look at perhaps making a melee carry, as you're not really going to be getting through Tower of Fiends Revisited with this magic alone anyways.
It's pretty unlikely. That being said, getting through a lot of the game, I think using those instant death spells, Bane, Brack, and Quad X could be actually what helps determine the winner.
Yes, and also it will let you get some levels, as you've mentioned before. So getting our first look at Titan Trolls, one of our incentive location, finding that Aegis Shield, which at this point is just good for money, and we find the canoe. So the canoe, gonna allow us open up a lot of the world. It opens up 4 incentive checks for us here. We now have access to the volcano, which has our weekly incentive. We have access to the ice cave, which is nearby and a little bit dangerous. We have
we've got an
airship. Stop here.
We've got an airship combo pack here from the Ruby. The canoe and the floater are what opens up most of the world. You need both of those items to get the airship, and we get them with one turn.
So the Ruby paying off big. At this point, they have basically the world open for them. This is often both these runners experience. They've been around since 2018, so they all have been in this situation before, but a lot of newer runners, myself included, struggle a lot with this freedom. You're low level, you don't have the magic you're looking for. What do you do at these early levels with the whole world available to you?
I think you've got to go for those quick checks, right? Like those free chests. I think there's a lot of chests out there that aren't too risky to get to. You've got all of the Cardia Isles.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think Cardia Isles into something like Ordeals, you have Warp, though maybe not a ton of charges on it at this point, but so many casters of it that it shouldn't be a problem. You have Harm as a good sweeper as well as Lit, and all those to deal with those undead, and for everyone else you have Death Magic. So definitely I think I'd be leaning towards Ordeals here after checking the Cardia Isles, but we'll see what Kyuketsuki does.
I think there's also an argument to just check the armory floor in the volcano. It's not very deep. There's a lot of chests there, and there's a few spike tiles, which give you forced encounters. Those are also randomized in these flags, and can be a good place to snag some levels.
So Kyuketsuki, so far, agreeing with what our assessment is. Check those free chests. You're still light on gear. Want to see if there's a loose here, because if there's a loose here and you don't check it early and you're opening chests later, it's a big whammy. So getting some money, getting a pro ring, that's always nice.
Yep, pro ring, one of the best items in the hand slot for pretty much every character. It provides a decent amount of armor for its evasion penalty, and it also gives resistance to death element effects.
So if you're ever wondering which of these Cardia Isles locations has it, it's the different, it's forest, plains, and swamp, and that's how I always remember it. I kind of think which ones are Zelda dungeons, and then those are where you end up going.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth looks like he's heading out to turn that herb in, which, if he follows it all the way through, will also get him to the air.
Yeah, I think the Ruby is such a high value incentive, giving you access to 2 checks if you do not already have the floater, that he'll be heading there shortly. Kyuketsuki finding a money gauntlet, as once again that opal gauntlet will not be available for any of his current characters. Oh, okay, and checking for the shop item here in the Oasis.
And finding it, we've got ourselves a vanilla bottle.
Yeah, so the bottle turns in at Gaia. It releases a magical fairy, which allows you to get an item from it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that bottle's a little out of our price range at the moment. So we'll have to, kyuketsuki will have to take a note of that and come back later.
Yeah, I think he might be selling some of his money items here. So all these items selling for half price, and many of these he will not be able to use because he does not have a fighter or a ninja, or a knight or a ninja. So selling those and then probably going to be going back to pick up that ball. Ooh, I don't think he's going to have enough still.
Yeah, that was pretty close to max price. So you need a decent amount of money, especially in this early game. Selling equipment can get you a fair amount, but oh, and now we're also selling weapons.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth finding a quad Pede fight, getting some early levels, which is always nice. Once again, one of the big problems of getting this early floater is that you don't know where to go. And if you're going so fast that you might not have levels to get through everything safely, and one wipe can make or break it in this competition. So getting a few early levels here is always nice. Kyuketsuki going back, buy that bottle.
Wow, to see that it's still out of his price range. At this point, I'm not 100% sure where he's going, but I think it might be Volcano.
Yeah, and I think this falls right in line with your previous thought, which is there's a bunch of free chests here. Get some money, get some items, get some gear, and then head into Volcano.
Well, and also check some tiles. You never know when you might find a 3i grind.
Absolutely. Now, a 3i grind or something like that can be quite dangerous in Volcano, as you have to get out, but with Exit and Warp, you're not really too concerned about that.
That's true. Part of the reason why the 3i encounter is actually so prized is because they tend to give a lot of experience for how little health they have. They're usually fairly easy to defeat, and again, they give boatloads of experience. In the vanilla game, you can only ever fight one at a time. So sometimes they do roll something nasty, and that's pretty much the only time you don't want to see them. Obviously, since we don't have weapons, it's going to be a little bit of a different calculation of whether it's worth it or not. But you can really catapult your levels, and if you can get to, I think I'd probably guess around 15 for at least for me, that's usually enough to feel safe going through Volcano.
Yeah, absolutely. Usually, the question is, do I have enough health and do I have enough spell charges?
Oh,
so, Kyuketsuki deciding instead opting to go into Ice Cave. So Ice Cave does have a guaranteed incentive, and you do not have to go nearly as deep. With Warp at the level it is, they will be able to check the incentive item very quickly and be able to go through Ice Cave in one go, rather than having to go around twice like in the vanilla game.
Now, chat, I don't know how I feel about this. On the one hand, if he's just checking part of it, right, that's a lot of chests that he's leaving for later. While it's not too deep to go into it, you usually end up saving those checks for last. Or he's going to try and clear the whole thing. And Ice Cave usually ends up being kind of dangerous. It's not quite the enemy variety that some of the other dungeons have, but it's still enough that you can really get wiped a few times here.
Yeah, I would not be feeling super confident with the levels that he's at, but I can understand the play. The thought pattern here might be that he wants to check Ice Cave while it's available to him, get the incentive item, and then do Volcano in one go. Now, not one go as in, one go straight down, but one go as in doesn't have to leave, check Armory, then come back at a later time to check the incentive location. Check Armory, house up, and then go all the ways down with a few more levels. Lord of the Synth, meanwhile, looks like he's also making a Marsh play.
You mean going back to Marsh? He was the one who visited originally.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right, because he was the one who he wiped 2 members and then checked the top floor.
Yeah, I guess after fighting a few of those Peds, he's feeling confident enough to try his luck at the Marsh Cave Lottery again.
This is an interesting decision. He had the herb, and he walked right past the elves, and it doesn't look like he turned it in, so that's definitely a big risk. Meanwhile, Kyuketsuki finding the slab in the incentive check.
Yeah, it's a little annoying of an item to find. It's a turn-in, so that will lead to another incentivized item. But you kind of have to go back and forth to actually get it turned in.
Yeah, lots of sailing around if you don't have, or sorry, lots of flying around. So Lord of the Synth, checking that chest is linked, so it will always be empty.
Well, it will always be empty if you check that top left chest on this bottom floor of Marsh, because those are the two that are linked.
But most people will skip the top left chest and check those two instead, as it just saves, once again, a few little steps. So far this Marsh dive not paying off at all, which is always a little bit sketchy. And Kyuketsuki just resetting out.
Oh, and we've got ourselves the Twilight fan pack here.
The French vanilla spike tile? You know, normally it's wizards, now we have vampires.
Yeah, so far these spike tiles kind of icky. I mean, one thing about these vampires is if you can take them down, they're worth a lot of experience, but boy are they dangerous.
Yeah, this other downside of the second floor Marsh, or sorry, basement of Marsh play is that he still does not have the key. And triple dipping Marsh, if something ends up being in those key locks, feels real bad, man.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
Kyuketsuki, meanwhile, diving back down to Marsh, gonna go check the 6-pack as well as the 5 chests on the bottom floor.
Well, right. The question is, I don't know if that was a spike tile that he wiped on, or if it was just a random encounter.
I believe he didn't actually wipe, so he checked the 2 chests on the left, didn't want to take the spike tile again, and reset out. So that is a spike tile there, but he has to keep going down. At this point, he's committed.
Ooh, well, Marsh finally paying off. That defense sword going to be very useful for the Temple of Fiends Revisited.
Yeah, and I don't think we've seen Ruse either. So in an all-mage comp, one of the big benefits is you can get away with casting things like Ruse. Defense, of course, casting Ruse itself, because normally fighters don't have access to it. But in this case, the Red Mages have not found Ruse themselves, so that defense sword definitely going to be paying off. We did see Invis, I believe, but I think it was locked out, so...
Actually, Invis 2, I believe, was in the 3rd slot of level 3.
Yeah. So it is available then.
It is. However, the other noteworthy thing about Ruse is it's worth twice as much evasion as Invis 2. Now, the nice thing about Invis 2 is if you have multiple people casting it, that can end up providing more benefit, right? Because you end up with more stacks in a single turn. But if your goal is to just get high evasion on one character, Ruse is the way to go.
Yeah, so Kyuketsuki about to check out the 6-pack here. Until he gets interrupted by some Frost Giants and Frost Wolves.
Gotta say, so far, it doesn't look like we've seen anything that dangerous.
Oh! So hopefully he recognizes this. That Opal Cheerio is a loose incentive item. So the Opal Cheerio being the best armor in the game for a lot of different, many of the different classes, especially those who can't equip later game armor. So definitely a nice find, but not exactly what you're looking for as progression. But getting that loose out of the way, very nice. It will let you skip a lot more chests later if you can find that second one.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'd say actually this is a fine time to find it, because equipment is just something this party is going to be low on the whole time. There's very limited selection of what we can equip. I don't know if we saw where gold bracelets were.
I don't think we've seen gold bracelets yet, but that opal bracelet definitely patching up a little bit of it. So our tracker spells app correcting us that gold bracelets were in Crescent. And I think I didn't see the price then. Were they expensive? Around 8K. Oh, so cheap gold bracelets, which is really nice. Will help equip this party once they have some money.
Once they have some money, and they probably bought that bottle. I mean, it's up to the runner. Oh, Kyuketsuki going in to do just that. Oh, selling the chain armor. That's an okay call, but a lot of runners just end up dropping it because the money you get usually isn't worth that much.
Yeah.
You're not really saving a lot of time by doing that.
So I think this sale plan here is gonna just, spending a lot of time. I think, as you were saying before, I didn't mind ice before armory, but I think at this point, it's gotta be armory. Get all those chests, and there we go. Or not.
Nope. Clearly, neither of us has divined the inner workings of Kyuketsuki's mind.
No, he is an enigma to all of us. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth, about to get his floater. This is going to be a kick in the gut, because this was available, 10-15 minutes ago. And Kyuketsuki's been flying all over the world while he was diving Marsh Cave for defense. And that's not exactly what you're looking for. Defense, absolutely nice. A critical find, up there with ribbons. But is it worth delaying flying for, 10-15 minutes? Absolutely not. So you got to be feeling a little bit behind if you're Lord of the Synth.
I mean, ultimately, it depends on the runner, right? Some people might feel behind, some people might feel ahead. I can tell you that I've had a race where I ended up losing, and I felt ahead for pretty much all of it. So when my opponent got done, completely caught me by surprise. It ultimately just depends on the mindset of the runners themselves.
Yeah, so taking a second look at that Melmon spell slot. Actually, Cure 4 was in the third slot, so that is not going to be Red Wizard only. It was Heal 3 in the second. So, unfortunately, there's going to be no Cure 4, no Life 2. So White Magic definitely cut off this race so far. And I haven't seen Life. So there is one opportunity left for Red Wizard learnable Life. And if we don't get that, this is going to be a no life seed, which is going to be hard.
For sure. Having no fighters means that we're going to be pretty squishy. No black belts either, but fighters can also cast life magic. And Kyuketsuki finds in that chest a stack of gold.
Yeah, and immediately getting out of there. Checking Earth 1 is interesting. So Earth 1 has less chests. However, one of the really nice things about it is that with that nice long run off the power cycle, you can check each chest, reset out, and never hit an encounter. So that's definitely something that can speed up checking Earth 1. And with the floater, it's pretty fast. So that does make sense as well to get quote-unquote free chests.
Yeah, I think that sort of explains what Kyuketsuki's been doing this whole time. It is actually his main priority was getting money for that bottle.
Still very low level though, something that's a little bit concerning. 38 minutes into the seed and his characters are all still level 9. So this is exactly what I was talking about when you're getting in that early floater and you haven't really done anything yet. You have no levels and it can be extremely difficult to know where to go next. Meanwhile, did you see that there in the black magic shop?
I did. Level 7 temper.
Yeah, so level 7 temper in Gaia is going to be, it was in slot 1 I believe. So he should be able to get that on all of his characters.
Well, he should be able to, but depending on the levels he ends up with will affect how many casts we end up seeing.
Yeah. And once again, Kyuketsuki giving just absolutely nothing for levels right now.
Yeah. The other thing is there's one other black magic spell to look out for that we have not seen yet, and that is Nuke, the most powerful spell in the game.
So one benefit of what Kyuketsuki is doing is that, for those of you who are not aware, each key item that you obtain is giving you a 5% boost in experience. So although, it's been a lot of flying around, a lot of no levels, a lot of no dungeon diving, what also is happening is he's getting a number of those key items, which means that when he does inevitably find a grind or do a walking grind that he will need to do in order to get some levels on his party, he'll be getting it faster, while Lord of the Synth is going to be doing things safer, but a little bit slower.
Yeah, ultimately that's, again, a runner preference sort of thing, because there's an argument for either way, right? On the one hand, you can do all those incentives, get all those items, and get those XP multipliers, although I don't think a Thor hammer actually gives any because it's equipment.
Yeah.
But
still does have Matoya's crystal to turn in, which was chained to that bottle that he just bought, so we'll have to see what he turns in there, and I have to anticipate from the way he's playing that he'll go there right away.
But the other thing I would say that's kind of a downside of the way Kyuketsuki is playing this is the only exploration advantage he really has over Lord of the Synth at the moment is the Ice Cave. Sure, he's turning in these incentives faster, but he already had that advantage.
Yes, that's true, but assuming one of these incentives turns into something, Lord of the Synth is going to have to do it eventually. He might be doing it by proximity, so it'll be just a little bit faster, but turning incentives, except for things like this lab that just turn into nothing, not really wasted time.
Oh no, it's as long as you're doing something, it's pretty hard to waste time.
Yeah, so we have the bottle to the crystal to the crown to the chime. So that bottle will be required, so Lord of the Synth gonna have to find some money, but we'll see if he does it in a different way. Kyuketsuki sold off a bunch of stuff, and checked Earth to get a big money chest, but Lord of the Synth, maybe he'll make that volcano play that we've been waiting for.
Maybe so. We still have not seen much of any of the Fiend dungeons. We saw a little peek into Earth, but even that was, again, just a peek.
That's It's interesting that, we're in Fire Week and neither player has gone to the volcano, and we're 41 minutes in. Yes, the floater opened up some progression. Yes, the canoe basically led immediately to the floater, and when the canoe is available for a while and then you get the floater much later, it definitely pushes you to go check out, volcano ice or waterfall as well. But neither runner wanted to go there. This makes me think that both of them are planning to, once again, single trip it. So they're just going to wait until they feel comfortable and then just dive all the ways down in one go.
That's certainly possible. Again, I think you can make that call after visiting Armory, but maybe they really want to avoid double dipping.
Yeah.
So now Kyuketsuki is going to Ordeals, pushing that exploration advantage further.
Yeah, and he's got lots of charges of Warp, so that's a great call here. Warp not available in the vanilla game before you go to Ordeals because it is promotion locked, and of course the vanilla location of the tail is in the Castle of Ordeals.
Ooh, Trance Catman.
With stone poison. So definitely going to want to encounter Manip yourself away from that.
Yeah, that's a little awkward to see. They're not only in the outside of Ordeals, they're inside there too, and they can even show up in the Mirage Tower.
Yeah, so Kyuketsuki, though, making sure to avoid that encounter.
He did not save before going in.
Well, he saved, 10 steps away, so not the worst.
That's true, but it's still a little awkward.
Good call there. So using the warp, because he immediately recognized he got warped back to that front room. So those 4 pillars can warp you anywhere, essentially. They can warp you forward, they can warp you back, so you have to be very careful and paying attention to whether or not you're going forward or backwards.
Yeah, unfortunately, whenever it gives you a choice like this, you pretty much just have to guess. There's no way of knowing ahead of time which one is the correct path.
Yeah, all you can do is react properly once you go into one, whether or not you warp back or not. Yeah, so Lord of the Synth making the volcano play here. So definitely some divergence in routing. He's behind on getting into the sky, but has, if we find something here in Volcano, that will be a big play, and he may go to Ice after and find that loose. So he could be at 2 loose early if we find something in the Armory.
Yeah, I think he's also been a little more cognizant about his levels, taking more fights in strategically picking fights. So that could give him a bit of an edge. We'll have to see how this turns out. Oh, and there's the max money chest.
Yeah, always nice to find. Though perhaps a little bit later than you would like if you're Kyuketsuki, after already have worked so hard to buy that bottle.
Maybe so, but there's still plenty of spells to buy.
Yeah, Temper is not cheap at level of 7. Lord of the Synth finding a Pro Cape. That takes up the shield slot, which is always nice, considering that these red and mages and black mages cannot hold very many shields.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Kyuketsuki is showing off that harm 3 against those mummies and reaching level 11. I think level 12 is when we start getting those level 5 charges.
That may be for the black mage, but it's around there, so yeah, you'll start to see those soon.
Right, you're right, for the black mage. Red mage is a level or 2 behind because they get the benefit of black and white mage.
Sorcerer is not doing much and giving you really nice experience. Lit 2 not going to do much to them, but it's okay, use what you can, and he even is using the Thor hammer to get some more Lit 2, so just Lit 2s all around.
Yeah, sorcerers are good experience because in the vanilla game, they're very dangerous. They have Death Touch, which is also why they do so little damage. They don't really need to in the base game.
Yeah. So Kyuketsuki finding the Oxyale, and not much else. He found a nice money sword, the Katana, which is one of the thief's best weapons, arguably behind the Masamune, but not much else. So just basically a bunch of cash, but never a wasted trick when you find the Oxyale.
So, yeah, I didn't see what it was, but something stoned one of Lord of the Synth's party members.
Oh my goodness. So, speaking of Volcano Armory, Lord of the Synth finding a loose key. If he makes the kind of proximity check into Ice Cave, he is going to have both loose very early. And that loose key is required. So, this play is huge. Now, on the other hand, Kyuketsuki, he's not hitting go mode until he checks Volcano. So, that really pays big dividends to let him catch up a little bit after that failed marsh dive and, spending a ton of time waiting to get his floater.
Did you see that? Those fires had Death Touch.
Oh no. He didn't get out, did he?
No, Kyuketsuki, I think, did not. And I don't know if he realized that if he either decided he wasn't going to risk it again, or if he's thinks he still has the Oxio. But
yeah, so our tracker spells app acutely turning off that Oxyale is Kyuketsuki knows where it is, but no longer has it. Lord of the Synth just chilling. Got so excited after getting that key. I don't know if we have stream lag or what's going on there, but we'll have to stay tuned.
It could always be a bio break. You never know.
Yeah. So Rift asking in chat, why is Lord Stop? We're not sure. I'm assuming a bathroom break, though he hasn't said anything in the SRL chat, so probably does not want to give his opponent that information. So Kyuketsuki, I think he's really struggling a little bit here with the, once again, early floater and not getting those levels. Even just a small grind to get up to level, the early teens really makes these dives a lot safer. I mean, yes, it won't save you from Death Touch, but he's been playing with fire.
So Volcano, Volcano Armory floor, definitely the place to check out. Those hairpin chests had the loose key and the Masamune.
Yeah, so the Masa, being the best sword in the game, especially with these parties, critical to find. These red mages don't have the inherent stat growths that something like a fighter or even a ninja has, so needing that extra hit percentage to get those swings that you need in the late game.
Yeah, that's definitely going to help us get through the themed refights. Also, a mage staff. That is a castable item. It lets you cast fire too. Just having more options is always good. And we see a Gershark and Shark tile.
Yeah, this is actually pretty good EXP. I would take this if you have the capabilities to, and he definitely does. DH Storm putting on in chat. Interesting to see sharks in the volcano, but not the strangest things we've seen.
Hey, they made a whole movie out of that, right? Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Okay, Lord of the Synth getting through that. We'll get to check that chest. Honestly, neither runner at great levels here. Both probably are still looking for a good grind tile, but finds a gold bracelet. That's always nice if they hadn't already bought him.
Yeah, I would say right now, kyuketsuki probably still has the advantage, but that Masamune and Ki are huge for Lord of the Synth. I don't know why kyuketsuki hasn't checked out the Volcano Armory floor. At this point in the game, it's still one of the most chest-dense locations, so it's usually a no-brainer. Maybe kyuketsuki likes getting other things out of the way. When it comes to order, it's not really a wrong choice, just different levels of gambling.
Yeah, it's interesting though that he's going there now. I want to ask him after the race, what's triggering you to go to various locations? Because something that would have, if you're putting Volcano off as long as he did, something that I was considering is that, do I have enough levels to go deeper? But he hasn't really gained any levels or anything based off his exploration. He's just been checking other things first. So that's all fair enough. Lord of the Synth, meanwhile, going deeper. Wanting to hit up that incentive location, I'm sure, and get a few more chest checks here on the Agama floor.
Yeah, he has not found the other incentive, so he's probably going to clear out all of this floor.
Yeah.
One item that would be nice to have, and we still have not seen any of yet, are those ribbons. We do have level 1 wall, which was Red Mage learnable, but it's nice to not have to spend a turn casting that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're using level 1 wall as your primary defense, you still have the capability to get turn ordered. And that is always extremely dangerous, because wall needs to go off in order to grant the immunity. And funnily enough, if the Fiends act first, wall's not going to do you much good.
The Lord of the Synth, I don't know if he's checking both of those spike tiles for the knowledge or if he isn't aware of them being there. We already knew about those sharks, but now we see that the spike tile that is usually the Agamas, a decent source of experience points in the base game, is Caribs.
Yeah, and Caribs with, I think it was Cremate. Not nice, just because of how many show up. And once again, neither runner's level is looking great. No one has really found a great grind tile, so to be fair, they could just be waiting for that. But, nothing much going on right now.
Ooh, kyuketsuki finds the Masamune and decides, yeah, I'm getting out saving. Unfortunately, I don't think he actually looked in that other chest for the key. He might be going to check it now, but
I think he's trying to avoid the spike tile, because the way that he checked them, he can go around the left side and not take a fight. So we'll see if he turns up. Yeah, so that's exactly what he's doing. He's just doing it this way, so that way he doesn't hit a spike tile.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said earlier, everything's a different kind of gamble. You can take some things for time. And DH Storm pointing out that was Lord of the Synth's lone advantage at the moment. Now it's been negated.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyuketsuki's still playing fast and loose. His party members are extremely low level, hitting level 10 53 minutes into the seed. But Lord of the Synth doesn't have a major advantage in this either, only having a few more levels. When you're 2-3 levels apart, that's sitting at a grind tile for a minute, and you'll make that up in no time at all.
Yeah, it's sort of tough. One of the things about getting levels with the 4-man party is it takes a lot longer. What some people might do with a party like this is to down one of the characters. And that way the experience gets split between the remaining characters 3 ways instead of 4. It ends up actually speeding things up quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a lot more common when you have a hard melee carry. In this case, having more characters up actually will lead you to having more spell charges. So unless you're looking for, level 6, level 7, level 8 spell charges, keeping more party members up will help you cast more spells, which is ultimately what these people are going to be looking for. Now, the one exception, of course, is health. And running 3 red mages and a black mage with no life magic, you're running the big risk of getting nuked or nucleared out of the Temple of Fiends Revisited. So having a few party members at higher levels also does pay dividends there for the additional health.
Yeah, ultimately, it's just what you choose to prioritize.
Yeah,
Now,
Kyuketsuki doing the key locks because actually he knows he's found both loose, so he's on a ribbon check, I would guess.
well, yeah, it could be ribbon, it could be more swords, it could be any number of things. I think we can kind of see a little bit better now that what Kyuketsuki likes is those safer checks.
Yeah, he wants to get all the chests out of the way and then clear all the dungeons at once. Also, getting 2 different spike tiles here, which is always nice in the northwest castle.
It does kind of mean his routing won't necessarily be as optimal, because the perfect routing is to do everything you can in one shot. And oh my gosh, LordoftheSynth is down to 1 party member.
And fighting off against a stun touch red Hydra. However, that person does have an opal bracelet on, so not taking much damage here. No, cast a spell!
It's also the character with the Masa, so you can just swing it down.
Yeah, so running there, when you're in a 1v1 situation like that and you're fairly certain that you'll be able to take it out, going for the more offensive option is often going to give you a higher percentage chance of getting out of that fight without getting stunned again.
Oh, and Wiz Ogres have some... was that Stone Touch or some other ability that gives Stone? Either
Stone
way.
Touch. Yeah, Stone Touch, yeah.
Oof, that does not feel good.
Yeah, so once again, neither person prioritizing levels, and Kyuketsuki not really being punished for it, and that's because he has been doing free chests first. He's decided that I'm going to check every chest I can that is easy to get to, and not, playing any risks and get some levels later. Meanwhile, LordoftheSynth actually diving dungeons, so, those lower levels getting punished. And DH Storm pointing out that we find an Excal in a chest. It was all a lie that you need the adamant to craft it. You can just find it in their locked armory. However, Excal, not really worth anything in the seed except for a pile of cash.
Yeah, and as Spellzap is pointing out, these touch effect enemies are really giving our party trouble. One of the interesting things about the stat growths of the characters is that mages, for some reason, grow in magic defense lower than the fighter or the black belt.
So Kyuketsuki did find a black shirt in the in the chests in the Corneria Castle. So that's nice to cast Ice 2, and as well as provides pretty good defense for the Black Mage. It's equivalent to a gold bracelet. Specifically a Black Wizard, if he is able to promote. So almost an hour into this race, and interestingly enough, we still have not seen Waterfall.
And we still have not seen any orbs lit. This volcano is definitely treacherous. I think you want more levels before you take carry on. This has been too many rough encounters. You ended up having to run from a lot of them. I don't know if you can be comfortable with your levels and resources.
Yeah, and an interesting discussion going on in chat about how to dodge touch effects. And of course, one of the ways to dodge touch effects is to do exactly that, to dodge them. But the other way is magic defense does have an impact on the hit percentage of those touch effects after you've been hit. So a combination, so levels is still your best bet against touch effects.
It is, but as I referenced earlier, which I thought to bring up because Spellzap was mentioning it in the chat. Mages grow in magic defense slower than a lot of the melee classes. So you need more levels to get the same effect. So it's just exacerbating that effect of we need more levels. This could be a party where you need really high levels on a few characters rather than everyone getting to okay levels.
So if you were in the seed, would you be running a 2-person then, or a 3-person?
Well, I don't draft very much. I'm still a pretty new player myself. There's a lot I'm not as comfortable with. If I was with this party, and if I was running into all this stuff, I think I'd want to get more levels. It's not as natural to me to think of 3-manning, but it's something that you should always have in your back pocket as an option. It can just help you, in situations where you need levels faster, and you have trouble finding fights that you can take safely, that are worth a lot of experience. Taking a few more fights, or even like the same number of fights that are safe with fewer party members, can also get the job done. And then you can just bring another party member, the down party members, back up later, and get them caught up without too much hassle, because you all have the other, your level party members to carry them through.
So our runner's about to meet each other in the volcano. Kyuketsuki, making his second dive after checking the volcano armory, has not seen those stone touch. I believe it was the Wiz. Yeah, the Wiz Ogres. There we go.
Yep.
And fire not really paying off here. We have the tail, and the tail, obviously great, allows you to get some extra stuff, but there hasn't really been much that's been red wizard locked or black wizard locked, so the tail's not going to be giving them as many options as it has in other ones, so not exactly what you're looking for there. Now, Lord of the Synth, with the way that he's playing right now, looks like he wants to take on Carrie, and this is going to be a very scary Carrie fight.
Yes, I definitely hope he does not try that Bane Sword, because Carrie resists poison/stone elemental.
Yes. Carrie is weak specifically to status effects. So, if you have the other staff, you can try and do hold and things like that. But yeah, Bane Brack not going to be super effective against Carrie here.
Yeah, and in fact, she also resists fire, lightning, and ice. I'm not really sure what the game plan here is going to be, other than maybe hope she rolled low.
It looked like it's a power bonk, fast, massive swinger, which could get the job done, but he's got to live long enough to get it off. So I'm hoping that he'll move that Massa Wielder down a few slots.
Of course. Oh, Bane. I don't know that works on elemental enemies like these fires. They might resist it as well. And now Lord of the Synth gets the bad news that they have Death Touch as well. And they're unrunnable, which I did not realize when Kyuketsuki ran into them in ordeals. That's why he didn't go back.
Yeah. Now, the one bright side for Lord of the Synth here, he has the information of what's in that incentive check. There's no reason to go back here until he needs to light an orb. So hopefully he goes and clears out some of the easier checks. Go check out Waterfall, get a few levels. Go check out Ordeals, get a few more levels. I know I've been harping on this, but it's just been deeply uncomfortable, like being at such low levels, taking on all these things, trying to just push the limits, and they've been paying for it with a ton of wipes that have really just cost them more time than just playing a little bit safer, even going and checking out the first floor of Mirage. You can get tons of levels clearing that out, fighting those higher level enemies, and also getting a bunch of chests out of the way.
Yeah, one other thing worth noting is Lord of the Synth is kind of paying for putting that Masamune on that front line red mage, who is now fallen. The party member at the front will be targeted the most, so he's basically, blocking himself from those Masamune swings.
Yeah, and once again, if he wants to make it so there's the lowest possible chance of his Massa Wielder being hit here, he needs to move the red mage. Well, technically he needs to move the red mage and the black mage to slot 1 and 2, but at least the red mage up to the first slot. This is a scary carry fight.
It is.
So that's what she made right there. Doesn't do anything. Both of the bottom 2 party member slots have a 1 in 8 chance of being hit, so it doesn't matter whether you're in the 3rd or the 4th slot.
Yeah, I do find in practice it feels like the 4th slot is targeted a little more than the 3rd slot, but it's not really enough to be anything more than, preference and superstition.
I think you just notice it more when that 4th slot gets hit, because it's always that weak black mage. And here we go. We have our first Fiend fight at the hour and 4 minute mark. Carry, LordoftheSynth, deciding what to do. This person has basically nothing. Bane, not an effective strategy here. Okay, going for the fast and the defense strategy. Not going to do much against a carry casting fire 2 and already down to lower life. That Bane, I believe, having a 3 in 256 chance of hitting, so very, very unlikely to have any success there.
Yeah, he's not really buying himself much time. Even without carry being immune. Oh my gosh!
Oh my goodness! Wow.
What a lucky break. Well, lucky Bane, I guess.
LordoftheSynth not being punished for that extremely greedy carry fight, but you know what? Sometimes this is a casino-themed tournament, and that play will pay off. You cannot land in concrete. Please don't destroy the village of Crescent Lake.
That's why you make Hail Mary plays like that. Because sometimes you score.
Yeah, so, okay, Kyuketsuki doing something I like, warping out of there, avoids you one encounter, and those Karibes had, cremate, so, not wanting to take that extra damage. And now, Kyuketsuki also going for carry. No one is respecting carry 1, though I doubt he will have as much luck baning or bracking this Fiend. What's his strategy?
Well, he's got 4 party members, so he could be going for the fast, Masa swings as well.
Interestingly enough, he's almost identical level.
Yeah, that's what happens when neither player is taking many fights.
Okay, so we have Invis 2, fast, and Brack strats once again. Brack not very effective against carry. Yes, go Brack the Crack, go Brack the Tia, but don't Brack the carry, unless you're LordoftheSynth. So getting that fast out on that Massa wheel, they're putting it into the 4th slot. Invis 2 gets out. Second cast of Invis 2 also got out. So once again, Brack. Okay, wall, getting that ribbon off. I like the wall play. If you're going to play defensive strats, getting the wall out, definitely critical here, because even against those, fire 2s, only going to be doing half damage. 6 hits. So carry, not much evasion. Decent absorb, though. Also, red mages at level 14, not doing much damage, even when swinging the Massa. Lit 2 doing nothing, just tickling carry. Carry missing a little bit, only 29 damage. Lit 2 comes out, 20 damage. Hits 6, 226. So once again, low damage per swing, but getting 6 hits off, no evade on carry. So this is looking okay. This strategy will work. You just got to hold the course. Get some more Invis 2. Yeah, that's exactly what you got to do, and just keep punching. At this point, with 4 party members up, you're looking okay. Chip damage coming in. Lit 2, 17 damage, 6 hits, 214. Carry can't have much health left. Maximum health just over 1,000. So a few more rounds should do it, as long as carry doesn't come out with anything too dangerous. Carry hitting boys, nothing. Invis 2 strats paying off. The defensive options here have been working well. Wall, Invis 2, playing this party to its strengths. Brack, once again, not going to have much capability. 6 hits, 214, and that does it. And that carry 2 fight, or carry 1 fight, I think a lot safer and a lot cleaner. Didn't have to rely on that very low percentage chance Brack.
Although he was still throwing them out there, and the way he was throwing them out makes me think he's not aware of the poison resistance of carry. I know from experience, I've actually also pulled off a Bane kill against carry, but I definitely didn't know better when I did it.
So with that, both of our runners have 1 orblet, but still fairly underleveled. No one has gone to promote at the 1 hour and 8 minute mark. And this seed, other than the fact that they're running 4 mages, has honestly turned out to be something that could have been run fairly quickly. If I'm a runner, I'm a little bit scared at 1 hour and 8 minutes with 1 orblet, considering how fast that floater came.
Yeah, I think the thing that scares me is we've seen some bad stuff, but we haven't seen any really bad stuff.
Well, Death Touch, Stone Touch, getting out of the pool.
No,
That's two things I consider really bad stuff. But
that's certainly true. But I don't know that we've seen any thunders or blizzards, right? There's still a lot of stuff out there that can be very dangerous, especially in packs.
so Kyuketsuki not deciding to promote or do anything else, going straight into Earth. This is interesting, as we know that the cube is somewhere, and at this point I believe we know the cube has to be in Waterfall.
That is correct, and I think
Well-
Kyuketsuki also has that knowledge because he's found all of the incentives. He's explored all of the incentive dungeons. He might just be doing this because it's in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I think just the proximity play into Earth. Hopefully, he still has not found a single ribbon, so this, the fact that you haven't found a single ribbon yet makes me not want to go into Earth, because these Earth checks are much, much slower than doing something like Mirage, or even Waterfall, just getting those 6 free chests out of the way. But Kyuketsuki deciding, you know what, Earth is here, I'll get an Orblet, but he's checking chests on the way, and that's definitely going to slow you down. Earth, one of the worst dungeons to full clear, alongside if you're doing Mermaids and Sea in terms of just time loss as compared to the Go mode.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. It's because a lot of the chests are kind of out of the way and then double back, and a lot of them you don't even benefit from warping and then rerunning. It's just the layout is really awkward.
Yeah, unlike Sky. So at this point, Kyuketsuki probably just looking for a few ribbons. There's not that much other late game gear. Oh, and he resets out after checking that chest, so warping definitely a little bit faster, but he knows what the encounter table looks like, so he may have thought that because of this nice long run-off power cycle, it's a little bit faster to just reset out.
I guess he was worried about those saber teeth. They do tend to have a high crit rate that makes them dangerous, but I don't know. I feel like he could be a little spooked.
Finding that ice armor.
That's no good to us.
Yep. So yeah, Lord of the Synth stocking up on his Invis 2 charges there, which will definitely help. Forgetting that slot 4 there, still not Red Wizard learnable. And yeah, I was going to say he's going to check Life 2, but once again, Life 2 there, not Red Wizard learnable. So once again, a lot of critical white magic locked out for both runners.
It's unfortunate, but these things do happen.
Yeah, Kyuketsuki continuing to dive down through Earth, not finding much. At this point, really, as I said, there's not that much to find. Obviously, he's looking for a defense, but defense we know is in Marsh, so very unlikely to check that out. Kyuketsuki looking for a ribbon. I think that's got to be the primary thing that you're missing at this point. At least one, probably two, because with no life caster to protect, this Tower of Fiends dive is going to be extremely dangerous. Siren is saying that we should have drafted 3 whites instead of 3 reds, but I think Fade is level 7 or 8. So 3 whites not going to be doing so great either. Oh!
There's
Kyuketsuki
first
finding a ribbon. In a very out-of-the-way chest. So Lord of the Synth may not find that, depending on if he goes to Mirage or Waterfall first. That being said, Lord of the Synth may also find 2 ribbons in Mirage or Waterfall first and not have to take all these extra steps in Earth.
Maybe, but Lord of the Synth still does not know where Oxyale or Cube, or even Chime for that matter, are.
Yeah.
So there's a decent chance that, depending on the route he takes, he could full clear Earth.
Yeah, personally, I would never full clear Earth before having checked Waterfall, Ice, Ordeals, but at least maybe top 4, but checking the whole thing takes lots of time. And okay, he's going past it. I was going to say, did I just immediately commentator curse myself? And he will just go straight to Earth and full clear it?
The possibility still exists, but it looks like he's shopping for magic.
Yeah, so not remembering exactly what slot everything is in here. Yeah, DH Storm asking in chat, what does Q need for Go mode? And yeah, just Cube, and that Cube he knows is in Waterfall.
He does need to go back to Ordeals for that Oxio.
Ah, that's correct, yes. So he is in No mode, but he is not in Go mode.
I think checking these chests for ribbons makes sense. With this party, you're going to have low HP totals. You're not going to have access to life magic, so you really want to make sure your party does not die as much as you can. I think levels are still the #1 thing, but ribbons definitely going to be helpful.
Yes. Spellzap, our tracker, who's doing a fantastic job today, pointing out in chat that spike tiles are bad today. Yeah, nothing really that you want to grind found so far, especially with this party. And I mean, they have tons of sweepers. They can deal with most spike tiles and can get through them pretty quickly, but just not finding anything. I was wondering, have we checked Onrak's white magic? I don't remember if they've checked it yet.
I don't think anyone's been to Onrak yet.
Because we do still have a small chance of getting life magic in that first slot. And that could allow them to have life magic available to them.
And the other thing missing is Nuke. We could really use some charges of that.
Yeah. Once again, also Fade could be in that first slot, but this has definitely not been a kind seed overall for Magic. We have level 7 Temper. We have early Fast, but no Nuke, no Fade, no Life, no Cure 4. So, you know, all those premier S tier level spells are not available. Oh, Temper's in that second slot there. That's really unfortunate. That means that the Red Wizards are not able to learn it, though still probably worthwhile picking up. Oh, and Life was also in Gaia in slot 2. So, just all the magic that you would want being locked out to the party either entirely or to all but one member.
Yeah, this is not the seed for this party.
No. Spellzap, once again, our tracker and an excellent runner of this game himself, pointing out this is going to be an interesting endgame. Yeah, there is not a lot looking great if Topher decides to be just an absolute house to get through. Any death is going to be permanent, and there's absolutely no way around that. There's nothing great to grind on. We have a defense in Marsh. We have a power bonk, so we have some tools. But the problem with a long drawn-out fight is a lot of the time you're spending a few turns getting set up for a longer drawn-out fight, and in the meanwhile, one or two of your party members takes a dirt nap. If you get a dirt nap here, it's permanent. So, you know, you lose one member on Kraken, lose one member on Tia. Chaos is not looking so great, with only 2 party members left.
Yeah, we got a question in the chat asking if this was drafted. It was. LordoftheSynth started off with 1 red mage. Kyuketsuki followed up with 2 more, and LordoftheSynth decided to switch it up a little with a black mage.
So for those of you who are just joining, I'm Jat, joined by my co-commentator partner, Avos, and we are looking at a 1-3 matchup in week 5 of the Swiss tournament. Both runners fighting to stay alive. If you want to make into brackets, the absolute worst record you can have is 3-3, and in which case you have a long, hard road ahead of you to get into it, but it's still possible. The runners started off a little bit slow, but then picked up some speed as the Ruby turned into both the canoe and the floater. The canal was easily accessible in the Tower of Fiends, and from there, the runners have been prioritizing slightly different things. We had a loose in Ice Cave, which Kyuketsuki has picked up, and we had a loose key that LordoftheSynth and Kyuketsuki both picked up in the Volcano Armory. Kyuketsuki in no mode, but still checking chests, knowing that this is going to be a rough late game as both Life 1 and Life 2 are locked out, Temper only learnable by the Black Mage, and Health a serious concern, as this all-mage party is squishy. So stay tuned to what is definitely going to be an interesting Temple of Fiends Revisited.
Yeah, Kyuketsuki finally finishing all the chests in Earthcave. The only thing left is the Lich.
Yeah, so Lich most likely not going to put up too much of a fight here. But once again, these HP values just are extremely uncomfortable. Not having, you know, even a ninja at the front line. just making everything a lot more difficult. And, one strong non-elemental spell, or even at this point with only a single ribbon elemental spell, could really change the fortunes of these runners.
Yeah, the other thing is, of the 3 mages, white mages tend to be the ones that roll the most HP, so...
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. So the way this draft worked, as we pointed out, with the black mage being picked last, it's interesting that a white mage wasn't picked up. A white mage with ruse, white mage with life, can be a pretty decent frontliner. And we've seen, some white ninjas in the past, white samurai, I think they call it, to do some damage. But right now, it's just squish all the ways down.
Well, at the end of the day, because this was a draft, this is what, our runners wanted.
Yeah, and both runners, once again, evenly punished, I guess, for this all-mage party. Picking up Lich, we are doing, speed and power strats. So fight, harm 3, harm 3. Oh, 1 invis 1 and fast. Fortunately, turn order not playing nice. 3 hits, 241, so not much absorb, not much evade, and with that, the speed bump has gone down.
Yeah, I think this fight might have been trouble if it weren't for the Masa.
Yeah, because he was spending spell charges fairly liberally throughout the dungeon, and level 15 and probably about level 14 when he walked in, you're not having a ton of spell charges, especially with not much great magic at level 1 and 2. Level 3 and 4 is what was doing most of his damage. Life Reboot joining us in chat. Hello, hello.
And Kyuketsuki seeing those trans catmen again.
Come on. And once again, those catmen also have stone poison. Come on, Kyuketsuki, just reset out of this. You saved after Earth, right? Right?
Ribbon must be on that first party member.
Yep. Oh, so Catman also showing us that they have Blizzard. So this is not a fun script. Trance, Stone, Poison, and Blizzard. And he gets out. Continuing to tempt fate, though, by taking a few extra steps after that.
Oh, yeah, but he'll be fine. I don't know if you saw in his inventory, but he's got 15 softs on him.
Yeah, softs were only about $600, so definitely not a bad time to have something with Stone Poison. Lord of the Synth also checking out Earth. This is very surprising to me. Lord of the Synth is still looking for 1 loose and has not touched Ordeals, has not touched Waterfall, has not touched Ice. He has 2 items from Go Mode. So even if he finds the one loose here and it is a key item, he still has to go check other incentivized mini dungeons. So full clearing Earth would not be at the top of my priority list here, but probably doing the proximity play, getting another Orblet.
It could also be a safety play. I think both of our players might be aware that they're not very leveled up at this point. And while the skills can roll anywhere, the stats do tend to go with the pretty close to vanilla. So that the stuff that's going to roll more dangerous attacks because they hit harder or they have more of them are going to be later, in the sky or the sea.
But Earth has a fairly wide variety of enemies, and not only that, it's a much longer dungeon. Waterfall with Warp, very quick. So there we have confirmation. Nuke is indeed level 8.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, so not going to be a major factor here. And Kyuketsuki also choosing to keep 2 of his players or his characters stoned. This is going to do the equivalent of danning them, but it's actually much better. Having stone characters, one of my favorite plays is actually having like a stoned white mage or something like that, who's low level but has life magic. You can pull them up whenever you want. And at this point, basically having 2 stone characters allows you to do a grind and avoid having to share experience while also knowing that you can bring those 2 characters up at any point without having to go back into town. So it's a nice play.
Right, and you didn't mention it, but one of the reasons why a white mage is good for that is because they can usually res other party members if they have access to life, or if they have access to exit, you can just use them as a get out of their card.
Yeah, so we have stakes off the power cycle. Not the blue stakes that you're looking for, but Tyro's still doing pretty good, and they are squished too. Ankylos, on the other hand, not what you're looking for. I would not want anything to do with those.
Yeah, but this desert is pretty big. There are a lot of tiles, um, overworld tiles. There could be plenty of other encounters that are good off a power cycle in there, but you kind of have to walk around. So
When you say tiles, you're not talking about an individual tile, are you?
no, I'm you're right. I'm talking about encounter zones.
Yes, exactly. So what is an encounter zone?
So, an, an encounter zone is basically an area of the overworld that basically has specific encounters mapped to it. The encounters change as soon as you move from one encounter zone to another, and a lot of the times by proximity they'll actually be the same ones, but because of the way that the encounter shuffle works, you can actually see the kind of encounter shuffle we're having with these five, you can end up seeing different ones in different encounter zones, even though in the vanilla game they might end up rolling the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're also going to note that that is the reason why you have that little peninsula of power in the base game as well, where you can fight high-level giants in the early game, because that one little tiny, those two squares up there, both are in a different encounter zone compared to the rest of the much easier enemies that you usually find in the early game. Notably, for those of you who are wondering as well, the river systems are on an entirely different system, as well as the ocean. So it's specifically the land tiles that will give you that will follow those different boundaries. Kyuketsuki going back to Ordeals to pick up his ox ale, which he knows is there. And then I assume he's going to be proximity routing waterfalls into Sea Shrine.
Yep, it makes sense. Waterfall and Sea Shrine are right next to each other. You don't want to have to double dip the Anorak continent.
Yeah, especially it's a little bit slower to walk there with the floater. Kyuketsuki, wow, this is impressive. I have short-term memory and long-term memory, and the pillar maze is forgotten the moment that I leave Ordeals. But he remembers the perfect path right off the bat, so good on him.
Yeah, definitely. That was he's either trained himself well or he took notes for that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, LordoftheSynth taking on Lich, once again, shouldn't be much of a problem, but just not quite remembering, exactly how many charges of everything he has remaining. Fire 2 goes off 130, Harm 3 goes off, and that should do it for Lich. So at the 1 hour and 27-minute mark-ish, he has 2 orbs lit as well. Now, we know there's nothing here in Ordeals other than the Oxyale, so checking some chests, just picking up that max money again, but not going to find much.
Meanwhile, LordoftheSynth starting to run low on options. He can either start clearing incentive dungeons, which looks like Ice is the first one on the list. We know that the slab is there, which turns into the Thor hammer. We also know there's the loose opal, so he could end up, checking, turning in that slab before checking the other incentives.
Yeah. At the same time, I think in aggregate, finding the second loose will save you more time, especially because it avoids something like mermaids, than just getting exactly the incentive if there is just a single incentive item here.
Oh no, absolutely. I was working under the assumption that he definitely full clear here.
This is scary for Kyuketsuki. He knows just how dangerous these fire elementals are. Invis strats, lit 3. This is a tough encounter for them. It's going to be lots of massive swings and lots of waiting.
Yeah, but we've got a little bit more magic defense. And obviously those Invis 2 are helping a lot. So he's definitely better prepared this time around.
Yeah, I like that veteran move, I would call it, to stack those Invis stacks once again. Touch effects don't do much if they don't touch you. So dodging, pretty good way to avoid getting death touched. also of note for those of you who are familiar with the vanilla game, the bug where if you get one hit, and then you can get all the subsequent misses can reach out and touch you still has been fixed here. So dodges are as good as dodges can be in this fixed version.
All right, and Kyuketsuki is a waterfall robot away from Gobo.
Lord of the Synth, using the warp trick, gonna get that slab, and we'll see if he continues. At this point with one loose available, I think you have to, but not for certain. And yeah, so he's gonna find that loose opal Cheerio.
Kind of a shame that he's skipping on this fight. Mages and fighters give a lot of experience points, and they tend not to have a ton of HP, but they make up for that with their magic defense. These mages also roll the script, which isn't fun, but
yeah, we saw these mages having a little bit of dangerous stuff earlier, so looks like he's gonna get and he gets them. Nice. That should be a good chunk of experience here. Yeah, 3306 for each of the 4 party members is pretty good gains.
Kyuketsuki about to take on Sea Shrine before deciding to look into Waterfall first.
Yeah, and this is I like this. I like Waterfall first here. He knows he needs to do it, and just getting a few extra levels before you go on the longer dive is always nice. Waterfall does have some high-level enemies, but it's not especially scary, especially when you don't have to go there and back again. And you know what? You might find a great spike tile here, which we've had an absolute absence of throughout this whole game so far, really.
There were sandworms in Northwest Castle. Those aren't too bad. They're a little bit better for like solo black belt grinds, but they can work in a pinch.
Yeah,
especially in the early game.
They were relatively beefy, and they were really lacking, any way to clear them quickly. But yeah, sandworms not the worst. Dragons having some of the highest magic defense in the game. Not easy to take down with just spells, but Lord of the Synth gets it done.
Yeah, if you don't look into it, it's sort of an interesting factoid. All of the dragon enemies that have that max defense, magic defense, have the same magic defense as Chaos. So,
yeah, 200, I believe.
That's exactly it.
Lord of the Synth saving a little bit of time by using heal. Yeah, early level heal magic can be really a big time save throughout the fight. Chimeras, not bad EXP, but when they're only in packs of 1, not ideal. Also can roll up a lot depending, but yeah, so we have over 300 health here, so this is not going to be a great fight to take.
Yeah, the other thing about Chimeras is their weakness is ice, and we don't really have great access to ice magic. We've got that black shirt, and that's pretty much it.
But even one, 1,000 EXP, if that was, the 3 or 4 pack, that could be pretty nice. Mudgalls, those are good EXP. Oh, and not a ton of health. Oh no, he ran from them. Come back, Mudgalls.
Yeah.
And with that, at the hour 32-minute mark, Kyuketsuki has officially entered Go mode.
Yep, he'll probably still check chests looking for more ribbons. Maybe he's also keeping an eye out for that defense sword, but I definitely wouldn't go diving through Marsh for either.
No. Yeah, I expect him to check the the large chest packs in Mirage, probably Mirage 1, the left and right side of Sky, Sky 3, check all those large chest packs, so he still has a good chance of getting a bunch of ribbons. Or, sorry, getting a ribbon or 2.
Alright, so far that big run is paying off. But Sea Shrine is long enough that you can't run forever.
No, and finding, the classic at this point, rite of passage, unrunnable Saheg with Saheg pack. It is the other side of the pirate fight, so in all versions so far, it is unrunnable. However, if you check out the Final Fantasy Randomizer beta, you can finally make that fight runnable thanks to the work of our fantastic devs. If you see them, give them a shout. If you want to figure out who they are, play our game and walk across the bridge and you'll see a shout out to all of them.
Yeah, you can also check out the Discord. A lot of them hang out there, at least some of the time.
Yeah, and they're very active. Lots of changes, lots of exciting things. On the beta, you can check out things like blurst weapons, which makes them have a value from +5 to -5, kind of similar to, you know, a game which this game takes just 1 or 2 inspirations from, Dungeons and Dragons, as well as tons of other cool things. I think for beginner runners, one of the nicest things on the beta site is the tool tips. Darkmoon's been doing a fantastic job alongside a lot of others, getting those set up and really helping runners understand what each of these things does. I know when I was first starting out that it's confusing. There's a lot of flags, they do a lot of things. What is clamped? What is 100%? What is scaling? What is open progression? And those tooltips can help out a ton. So if you're interested in checking it out, come check out our Discord. Come get a seed running for yourself, whether it's on the basic one or on the beta, and check it out. There's lots of help available. So Life Reboot asking, what is Zozo Melmond? I believe that is where Melmond allows for encounters.
Yes, it allows encounters, specifically on those sand tiles. It has an interesting pool of enemies, including the pirates from dealing with Bicky. It's the only place in the game, actually, where you can run into them after the Bicky encounter. But again, you need to have those flags on. Other than those pirates, you tend to have a bunch of undead, because the whole reason Melmond is in that state is a vampire blew through.
That is some nice EXP right there. So, I mean, it's a little deeper into C than you would want, but I would definitely be taking this fight, assuming that those zombie Ds and whiz vamps don't have anything scary.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty decent. Again, as long as you can take the map down. But Kyuketsuki not having too much trouble, actually.
Do it again. No, he's running. That's okay. But yeah, that was 3,000 EXP split 4 ways, so that's pretty good.
Yep, absolutely. The main concerns is if they roll something nasty, but on top of that, vampires and whiz vampires tend to roll pretty hard hitting.
So Kyuketsuki finding his second ribbon in C, in a fairly free chest too. A lot of people will dip Sharknado just for, you know, the 3 free chests, or even just the 1 free chest, but that's not a bad place to find it. We'll see. Does he continue checking chests here? What else are you looking for if you're Kyuketsuki?
Ribbon and defense sword at this point, you know. I don't know that there's much else he could really want that's out there. You know, maybe more caster items, but after you have the defense sword, after you have the that 3rd ribbon, I don't think there's anything else you need.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, a 3rd ribbon is definitely a nice to have, but you're approaching the hour 40-minute mark. You have 2 orbs lit. You had an early floater. Yes, the magic's not great. Yes, you're in an all-mage party, and also there's been no great spike tiles, but I would be feeling a little scared. I'd be checking that SRL channel. Is it done? Are they done? What's going on? And we'll see if he turns on the afterburners here.
Lord of the Synth giving the old man at Ordeal Castle a rest, you know, talking to him. He's just been waiting there to tell somebody about the trials of ordeals. Now that he's done that, he can go home.
Speaking of great flags, if you are ever wanting to play something that's fun, or more like frustration removing, check out the NPC guillotine. Just don't talk to the Hooray Dwarf. That makes us all sad. But you know what? Got a dangbat in your way? Get rid of it. Want to move through things faster? Be able to get rid of them. Want to kill Cope? You can finally do it. Want to kill Mohawk Dude and Provoca? You can finally do it. NPC guillotine. Check it out. It's a great flag.
Yeah, at the moment that is also on the beta site currently. Still not on the uh, official release yet.
Lord of the Synth getting the bad news. Slab leading to nothing, as it often does.
It's because you need the canoe and the floater and the slab to turn it in, and you know, if any of those things rolls late, then a lot of stuff tends to end up sooner.
Yeah, it's very hard for it to lock something, and that's the reason. Though, you know, you also do end up finding loots and keys and things there.
Oh, absolutely.
Lord of the Synth, not liking that mountain. But we're about to see him go do Waterfall, get his Go mode, and also check out Onrak for Sea Shrine. So, as we can see, Lord of the Synth about a dungeon behind. That makes sense, or a dungeon and a half, considering he hasn't done Waterfall either, but it makes sense considering that Marsh Dive and just a little bit, you know, a little bit of troubles throughout the early game.
Alright, Kyuketsuki doing Braxtrats. He's gonna have a better time here, although so far none of them going off. Guessing safety and Viz too. He might want a few more of those. Although Kraken not hitting that hard, only 131s, and that third Brack goes off. We've got a water orb lit.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, the remaining orbs, I don't even know if this is about who gets into Topher first. I think it's more about who has a plan for Topher, who can get through Topher. And there it is. That is very interesting. We have Fade in the one slot of white magic remaining that I was talking about. Yes, it's not life, but the red mages can all pick that up at level 7, so that's definitely nice.
Yeah, now we just need enough levels to cast it.
Yeah, so let's talk Tower of Fiends Revisited. I think this is going to be very telling and very make or break for the seed. It's going to be extremely difficult for them to get through unless the Fiends are paper. Because they don't have a ton of casts of Nuke. They don't have a ton of casts of Fade. They have Elemental Magic, which is not that effective, as all the Fiends have lost their original weaknesses. They have a Massa-wielding Red Mage without a ton of levels. They have Fast, easily available, but you can only fast them once, and they have level 7 Temper as well, so...
But they do have a Power Gauntlet.
Correct. They also do have a Power Gauntlet, but taking time on each fight to fast and Temper and Power Bonk to cast Saber, it's going to be slow, and if one of these members takes a dirt nap, they're not getting back up. It's going to be long and grueling, and with the levels that they're looking at right now, if they go, you know, straight from Sky up into Ordeals, or sorry, yeah, Sky into Temple of Fiends Revisited, they're not even surviving a single nuke at this point.
They can, but it's certainly going to involve a lot of luck.
Yeah. So the max roll of nuke is 400. So a lot of people will talk about nuke safety as a critical level to hit, and that is, generally speaking, you want your life caster to be above 400 HP. So if you get first turn nuked, they were guaranteed to survive even in the worst case scenario. What my co-host Avos is saying is absolutely true. You know, if you have 4 party members above 350 HP, it's very, very, very unlikely for all 4 of them to go down. But even having one of them go down to a Lich, for example, is critical, will really, really hurt.
And now, Lord of the Synth at an hour and 42.5 minute mark, we've got Go mode.
So we have a question in chat. So I've never seen it. What is the Quad X spell do? So the Quad X spell is a type of death magic, but it works a little bit differently than the other ones. Rather than checking if they get hit by it, and if they hit, it kills the unit. Instead, what it does is it checks if the person has less than 300 HP and does not resist death magic. If both of those conditions are true, it will always kill a single enemy.
Yes, it's one of the power word spells, which is basically spells that work against enemies that are under 300 HP. On the one hand, this is nice because as long as those conditions are met, they will always work. It's just a problem of most bosses end up having more than 300 HP.
Yes, and also a number of them resist death as well, so Quad X will not work on them at all. Specifically some enemies too, so you have to be very careful about that. Don't try and Quad X undead.
Or anything that's not alive, like golems.
So Kyuketsuki continuing to check chests. They are skipping a few, from what I've seen. Yeah, because they didn't even check Mirage 1 or greater than less than, though they could come back in. So I think that means that he is on Greed Chests ++ looking for the third ribbon.
Yeah, although it's also a decent excuse for taking encounters and getting levels. The Sky Tower definitely gives really good experience for its encounters. They can be kind of dangerous, but this is where you usually get caught up for the Temple of Fiends Revisited.
Cyranus, our restreamer, pointing out Fade, Nuke, and Fast, Easy Seed is easy. Yeah, they definitely have all of those spells now at level 7 and 8. Fast, level 1, but not the easiest seed for the Quad Mage party.
Alright, Kyuketsuki skipping Sky 2 entirely. That's a pretty reasonable play. It's a real time sink trying to loot anything out of there, especially if you end up deciding to check all the chests. It's basically built like an earth floor room.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense to me. And also doing the high density checks here on Sky 3, which also makes sense. So I think he's got a plan now, which is always important. Have a plan. Say, what am I looking for? Why am I checking chests? How many chests am I going to check? And then stick to it. And that can make or break your seed. I've seen a number of runners kind of flip-flop, am I checking chests? Am I not checking chests? And that can really hurt you. But he's saying, I'm going to check high-density locations. I'm going to skip everything else. I'm going to take every fight I see, and get some levels. Looking for that last ribbon, getting ready for Temple of Fiends Revisited.
Yeah. LordoftheSynth not skipping the first floor Mirage, not finding anything that great there.
Oh, this fight is still quite a bit of EXP, but Kyuketsuki running from it.
It'll take 3 turns swinging down those man cats. I mean, maybe it'll take less, but they resist pretty much everything except for the non-elemental stuff. There's probably a few other things that they don't resist, but they've got decent magic resist if I remember correctly. So they're just a huge pain to deal with in general.
These are Hydras, on the other hand. These like to go down quite quickly and are worth a chunk of EXP.
Absolutely.
What's our second sword right now? Is it an ice sword?
There is an ice sword. We have a Masa, a sun sword, and the third one. Yeah, that's definitely an ice.
So not bad. Those are all fairly respectable weapons for your red mages to be swinging. Red wizards to be swinging.
Oh, definitely. In fact, those might be the best things. The Vorpal Sword you can swing, but against mobs most of the time, you'd probably be better off with an ice sword.
Yeah, I would be feeling better going into Temple of Fiends Revisited with an ice sword, though. Or sorry, with a Vorpal, rather than that ice sword. As the crit rate really can make a difference against the late game bosses.
Oh, absolutely, but you also want to... Yeah, the thing about a Vorpal Sword is it's usually an investment.
Yes.
And And where it really helps is against the seeds where you put the bosses on difficult scaling. There is they end up rolling a lot of absorb and evasion, and so those crits help reduce how much of a problem those are, which is why the Vorpal Sword is so great in those situations.
Yeah,
the
once again.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say once again, crits doing double damage, and only half of that damage is impacted by absorb. So a great way to get through a high absorb beam.
And we got chat on the ball giving us those plus RNGs to try and call out that war mech.
Not having much so far. Those metal slimes are worth a lot.
Yeah, but war mech will definitely get us, catch us up on those levels we need. I think even if you hit 24, that is not enough with this party.
No. I think they have no choice at this point but to grind. Levels have been an issue this whole time, and it's not getting much better. They're only level 20.
I definitely think that it's reasonable to grind, but you can always take the gamble on a paper token.
Yeah, do the quote-unquote info dive, right? The padded information dive. Figure out what's going to stop you, what you need to get through it.
Yeah, I don't know that I would think of it as an info dive, right? It's more like if it works, then great. I finish quick. If it doesn't work, then I have the info.
So Kyuketsuki doing that split strat again. This is, I think, a good plan against Tia 1 here. 2 invis, 2 bracket turn, trying to get that hit off while also providing some defense. Got to be scared of a big spell or script coming out, but otherwise, not much.
Not much luck with these bracks so far. We've cast 6, and none of them have hit. But the 7th's the charm, and Tia 1 is broken into pieces.
And with that, Kyuketsuki lights his 4th orb in go mode at the 1 hour, 51 minute mark. And yeah, we'll have to see from here. Once again, this whole seed I've really been feeling is, what is the plan for Topher? Do you dive it right away? Do you grind a little bit? Where do you feel comfortable? Because to be honest, I don't think there is a quote-unquote comfortable point here. So Falconic asking in chat, so what gave Q his lead? Well, to be honest, it's been a mixture of just small execution, as well as one big thing right at the beginning. Lord of the Synth went to Marsh twice, and didn't get much out of it other than a defense sword. Kyuketsuki was also in the sky much earlier, following a herb to a ruby, which led to both the canoe and the floater, while Lord of the Synth did a few other checks first. So Kyuketsuki was flying probably 10-15 minutes earlier than Lord of the Synth, as well as those Marth plays, which made the difference. And Lord of the Synth's only real advantage out of that is having a defense sword. Oh, go ahead.
The defense sword would be great, except we do have potentially 3 Invis 2 casters. After 2 turns, you could have full evasion stacks on the whole party. Of course, that's 6 charges that you're spending on that. So it's not a guarantee. But if it comes down to the one-man strats, which sometimes happens, Lord of the Synth has the edge. But Kyuketsuki decides he's not quite comfortable with the levels, so he's gonna go ahead and do an Earth Lord grind.
Yeah, and I like this play. There has not been a great spike tile. This is probably as good as anything you're going to find. So this makes a lot of sense. If you're just tuning in, other things of note, no life magic available for either runner. This was, of course, a draft. Red mage, red mage, red mage, white mage, or black mage was the order. So no life magic, and black mage only temper. So a little bit of a rough shape. Also no cure 4. So basically only wall from the white magic and level 7 fade. Nuke was level 8, I believe.
Oh yes, it was level 8 in Gaia.
So yeah, a little bit of a tough seed, and it's going to be hard to get through this Temple of Fiends. One benefit is they did find a nice early massa in the Volcano Hairpin right beside the loose key. So they do have some ability to swing for damage, but it's going to be tough out there.
Yeah, on top of that, they also have a Sun Sword, so they have a backup damage dealer if it comes to that, but you can't really plan your power gauntlet and, well, in Lord of the Synth's case, defense sword on a backup melee fighter.
Yeah. The one nice thing, both parties fairly equally leveled across the board, so it's not like, if one red mage wipes on Tia, that you don't have a backup person to swing that Massa. You can just move the power bonk, move the Massa, and move the defense sword, and basically be in exactly the same situation, just down a person to cast things like Invis and Fade. Yeah, these Gurmedusa is a great grind right now. Less than 90 HP. Tons of EXP, not doing anything scary.
Yeah, there's still a few spike tiles that I don't think ever got checked. And there could still be a good fight out there, but this is certainly a more reliable option.
So if you're Kyuketsuki, how high do you take this? What level are you looking for? What is your cutoff?
I don't actually know the cutoff for extra attack on a Massa for red mages. So I think the thing you have to go by is your HP values. I think you want to get your party members as much HP as you can, at least a few over that 400 threshold. And it's not even because you necessarily need to survive a max roll nuke. It's because you need to survive a decent roll nuke plus other things that come afterwards.
Yeah. So yeah, the Massa's next swing is at level 37 for the red mage, for the wizard. So very unlikely to be getting that high. So not really a extra swing cutoff, but I agree. I think just basically some HP. Probably taking this, if I was in their situation, I would probably be taking this grind into the high 20s. But that would be about it.
Well, thankfully, it feels like everything on the Earth floor is pretty kind, so this is going to work out for Kyuketsuki. He's not even spending that many spell charges on this.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth checking a few more chests. Not feeling comfortable with his gear situation, even where it is right now. So
it could be that. It could also just be that he wants to take more fights in the Sky Tower. And the way you take more fights is by taking more steps. So you might as well get something out of taking those steps.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, up to 1 charge of level 8 magic. What's our EXP situation here? Or sorry, our health situation here. We're up to just over 300 health, 350 health. So this is a little lower than what I would feel comfortable with, but we'll see if he takes... Oh no, so he's going back down. Yeah, he was just refreshing his charges, going back down, going to take it a little bit higher. Would you do a quick dive here? Hoping that all the fiends are paper and you can win out?
Well, it depends, right? If you are feeling behind, then I think what you have to do is level up and gamble on a tough tofu. But if you're feeling ahead, I think that's when you kind of just go for it. Because if you take that time grinding and your opponent dives, then you just, that's what costs you the win, right? And it never feels good to be able to pinpoint the exact decision that can lose you a match.
Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely seen races come down on either side of the bargain. Sometimes the person who dives first wipes and loses, other times the person who dives first gets there, goes through a paper topher, and the person who spent the extra time, ends up behind. In this case, Kyuketsuki has the added benefit of having a little bit of a lead on Lord of the Synth. So we'll have to see what Lord of the Synth does as he comes over here. His level's not in much better situation than Kyuketsuki, so that's going to be an interesting decision.
Yeah, I think maybe the thing that's looming over Kyuketsuki that's making him feel a little bit behind is that wipe and ordeals.
Yeah, perhaps. I think there's lots that has to be going through your head here. This is a crazy seed. If I walked into this, I have no idea what a great time is with the way the magic is. Lord of the Synth, meanwhile, getting onto that Bridge of Destiny. Get your bless RNGs in chat for that robot friend. I think he would take it at this point. You need those levels, and he is on a different encounter table than Kyuketsuki was.
He definitely is, but it looks like he was on the part of the encounter table with the hero run.
Yes. Starman Zero giving us the business. Unfortunately, it's not happening today, but tune in for the next race, and you will have your opportunity to see a robot friend.
Speaking of next race, after this one, we've got a few more later today. Let's see, we've got ourselves going on at 6 o'clock. So actually starting right now, we've got Demon RHK against Magius. That's on Randomania 3. We've got Black Knight 39 versus Ali Song. That's going on at 8 o'clock, also on Randomania 3. And then we've got a bunch of matches tomorrow, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern with Sho Fukumachi versus Rafe Hates Caleb. So definitely, if you want more Final Fantasy action, there's still more to be had.
Lord of the Synth, making his final preparations. We will see what he does here before he goes into Tower of Fiends Revisited. I believe he also does have his water orblet, so he does have all 4.
We'll have to see when he opens his inventory, but if he hasn't, then that's a pretty big lead for Kyuketsuki.
Oh, he has not.
Yep, and you could see it right there in the inventory. That was definitely an unlit orb.
Oh, wow.
I guess when he saw the cube, he just decided to go straight to
Sky to get the levels. So he went to Waterfall, went over to Sky, and then came back, and now he's going to go back into Sea. Thank you, Spellzap. My apologies for pointing out something incorrectly. I just assumed from where we were at this point in time that he would have that that he had that lit as well.
You know, that's why we have Spellzap here. He's the real brains behind this operation, and you and I get to be the pretty faces.
Exactly. So it looks like Kyuketsuki getting out of there, saving up. I think he's going to be going in for an actual time here. And yes, there we go.
All right.
Kyuketsuki officially going deeper. And our first look at what these second Fiend refights have to offer.
Yep, at the 2 hour and 2 minute mark, we've got our first true Topher dive.
Finding those great imp on the spike tile. Not exactly, the type of enemy that... Wow. And in the validation chest, we have our third rib. So Kyuketsuki going to be going in reasonably leveled with 3 ribbons. Basically having every piece of gear you could want except for the defense sword.
Yeah, that's not a bad place to be. Now it's just a matter of seeing how everything rolls out. There's 3 nukes and 4 nuclears in the pools for the bosses, so there's still plenty of non-elemental damage that can roll. Question in chat, do they have access to life? They do not. Both Life 2 and Life are not Red Mage accessible. So every hit point is going to matter. And an ambush is not what you want to see. That's every hit is going to cost you a heal potion or spell charge, and you're going to need every single one of those to get through the queue.
Yeah, I think another thing of note as well is that neither runner has access to Cure 4 either, and that can be a big spell that if your party gets hit with a nuke, to get yourself back on your feet. They're both hovering around those high 300s of HP, so a nuke unlikely to take out many members of the party unless they're rolling max, but they are likely to go very low.
Well, they're almost certainly going to take down that
Black
mage. But that's almost always true. Yeah, and in chat we've got a discussion talking about how at the 2-hour mark it becomes more of a mental game. At this point, you probably do have the concern in your head: is my opponent ahead? Is Topher that bad, or is nothing really happened yet? You don't really have any choice but to power through.
So Kyuketsuki giving us, I guess, the second look at that Earth floor, having fought a bunch of encounters here already, but about to take on Lich 2.
Yeah, and so we know there's not really anything that scary on the Earth floor. Lich 2 not that much tougher than Lich 1 usually. It's just a matter of turn order. Starting off with stun, it's not great to see him with a script, but again, you should be able to get him down quickly enough. Yep, there it goes. The swing for the Masa and that Ice Sword was all it took.
Yeah, you're definitely looking for Lich to be punch happy because you do not want to see a punch happy Kraken.
I would disagree there. But again, that's sort of preference. Because the thing is, if you get a punch happy Lich, that means you still have those nukes and nuclears to be spread out amongst the remaining 4 bosses.
That's true, and that Lich could have eaten up, a few of those nuke or nuclears.
Yeah, seeing anything else at the front of the list, you can, optimistically hope that there's 3 nukes there, and so nothing else is, you're out of the danger zone for there.
So Kyuketsuki immediately going for defensive strats, partially at least. Zap, not going to be great against... Oh, no, that one is the one party member not wearing a ribbon, so it did not get zapped through a ribbon. Hitting hard, Invis 2, so going slightly defensive, but this carries using skills and spells right now.
Yeah, personally, I think your first dive through, you gotta just power through carry. Those Invis 2 charges, you're going to want them for the later bosses too, so you're spending them here. And the best defense is a good offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a little different. It's a little bit of the difference in this case is that nukes and fades, they only have a combined about 8 of them, so it is a little bit different than when you have a level 1 nuke, but I agree. I would be trying to go fast on carry, saving the Invis charges, saving the time, saving the members of your party, trying to get through fast. Kyuketsuki getting down to the seafloor. We're about, well, after a few more encounters here, we'll be seeing what Kraken 2 has to offer.
And Lord of the Synth, in the Sea Shrine proper, looks like maybe another bio break, but it's the second time we've seen pause on his part.
That seafood party platter telling Kyuketsuki exactly what's going to happen when you fight them. Slow, slow, slow. But gets a pretty good run there. And with that, just doing his final preparations for Kraken. I believe... Which slot is the person swinging the Masa? Is it still in slot 1?
Yeah, unless he's moved it around, I believe it is.
Okay. So this one he's deciding... So he has been wanting to go, I think, fast, but been saving those fade and nuke charges for Kraken. And Kraken punches hard. That is a one-shot on that red mage, no life available, so that is not coming back up. We are 2-man for the rest of this. 3 hits, 3 damage, also not what you want to see.
No, Ice Sword, not with these levels, not going to do the business, and there's the wipe. Kyuketsuki, I may have forgotten what floor he was on. Gotten mixed up. We could be seeing a little bit of tilting there.
Yeah, now taking some time to collect his thoughts. Gonna need to definitely do white shirt or Invis 2 strats on that Kraken. That Kraken did seem to be punch happy. We did not see a skill or a spell out of him. Her, actually, I believe.
I don't know that Kraken officially has a gender.
Brack the second Kraken, according to Cyrus.
The thing is, the second Kraken actually has a lot more magic defense. In fact, I think they might also have 200 magic defense. I could be off on that. But it's basically, if it is 200 magic defense, that's only a 6% chance of Brack succeeding.
Okay, Kyuketsuki diving back down, collected his thoughts, deciding to go back in without any grind. Taking a few extra steps, that's okay. Let's see if he can get his head together and get back in with a better plan.
Alright, and Lord of the Synth now has all 4 orbs lit. Kraken 1 being a lot less troublesome than Kraken 2.
Yeah, so, if I'm Kyuketsuki here, you definitely did get some information. Lich, using some abilities, Carry using some abilities, I think that's where you gotta go fast. Kraken 2, you know what? I think the Invis 2 stacks are gonna be coming out there. So, once again, although they wiped, having a little bit more information is important, especially when you're going in with this slightly oddly resourced party.
Yeah, I think basically, if you just swap around the strats for those 2 bosses, you should be able to get through, but we're gonna see. And Lord of the Synth, meanwhile, is gonna check TOF locked, maybe see what the spike tiles are. Imps and Grimps. So now we know Temple of Fiends now and Temple of Fiends 2,000 years in the past is just infested with imps.
Imps all the way down. Nice, I like it. Oh man, chat coming out with some zingers here. We got infested by DH Storm.
Well, we're not quite to the point of grinding on imps yet, but so far, Topher not being so kind. Lord of the Synth now going for a dive. Might be feeling far enough behind that even gambling on a tough Topher is a bit risky. Now the question is, will he check the validation chest for that 3rd ribbon, or is he just going to go?
Yeah. We did see Kyuketsuki making the kind of veteran move to go grind on the earth floor. I like that, to get a few more levels. We'll see if Lord of the Synth goes somewhere to get some extra EXP before he continues diving, if this first one does not go well, which at this point I would anticipate it does not. Oh, sorry, DH. DH, stomp.
Man, that's I've been getting that wrong all night.
Lord of the Synth did check that validation chest, so got his ribbon.
All right, so we've got ourselves a race, everyone. This is going to be close.
At this point, I think as Falconic says, if someone finishes, I don't think it's going to be who gets there first. It's can someone finish? Now, obviously, Kyuketsuki, if he finishes, will win. But it's going to come down to some rolls, it's going to come down to some strategies, and it's going to come down to some luck.
Yeah, and that information advantage, definitely not nothing.
No, definitely not. Kyuketsuki, I'm expecting to see 3 Invis 2 casts first turn against Kraken, and that could really pay dividends.
It'll all depend on turn order.
Yes. But at least if you get 3 off in the first turn, the second turn, even if you have worse turn order for both of them, you're having a much higher chance of having 3 party members up rather than 2.
And one other thing we haven't touched on is, after all that grinding on Earth Floor, Kyuketsuki has the level advantage now.
Yes, he does. So Kyuketsuki deciding again to go for speed strats against Carry 2.
Yeah, but much faster this time.
Yeah, no Invis 2 stacking this time. Knows Carry does not have a ton of HP. Oh, survives with 74 hit. That's huge. That is that grind paying off right there.
Trying to decide what to do. Casting wall. And then
Carry coming through with Zap again, but misses the one ribbonless red mage. So that's another big change here. Carry 2 should be pretty close to going down. I believe she was down on the second or third turn last time. 1 or 2 more swings will take her down now. Just got to get some turn order here. Yep. And Kyuketsuki knows this. Fast plus 3 swings should get the job done here. Lit 2 giving her a free round. Yeah, and there we go. Carry 2 is down. Kyuketsuki gets through. This is looking good for this dive. Hitting level 29. Lots of heal pots still available. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth about to approach Carry 2 for the first time. Level disadvantage and no knowledge about what's in store. But this is a close race. This is neck and neck.
Oh, and it turns out Agama's half mute. Well, certainly don't mind not having run into them earlier.
Kyuketsuki getting slowed down a little bit by these casters. Not going to cause any serious threat, though. So, I'm expecting to see those heavy invis strats against Kraken here. Hopefully, he gets some turn order. That's critical. Falconic saying in chat that Q is burning critical spell charges too early.
Yeah, you saw him casting those fades and nukes. I think, you know, the turn 1 fades made sense, but after that, you know you've already done a bunch of damage, and you're relying on those Masa swings to do damage as well.
I think the plan. Yeah, I think the plan for Kyuketsuki going into the final 2 Fiends in Chaos is going to be play super defensive, get fasts off, get power bonks off, get tempers off, or maybe not too many tempers, but just take it slow and try and survive. It's super risky though, having not seen a single nuke, because even one of them could decimate his party.
Gotta remember to put that Masa Swinger on different row, and he does.
Falcona pointing out though that Masa was swinging well on Carry, and meanwhile Kraken was taking 3 hits, 3 damage, so...
We've lost a red mage on Lord of the Synth side. Jerry proven to be pretty tough.
Kyuketsuki meanwhile getting good turn order, getting all 3 Invis 2 charges off. And fast, so... Kraken punches still gets through though, 4 hits, so only half as many hits, but you know, without that max evade, not quite enough to be defense. Not quite enough defense.
But you know what Kyuketsuki still has? His Masa Swinger.
Yes,
that move is going to be vital.
Okay, so up to almost max evade here. He's got 5 Invis 2 stacks off. And taking a test swing with the Masa here. Burning a temper charge. So... Oh my goodness, and that Kraken was absolute paper. Or that hit for 1,000 damage.
Well, he also threw a nuke at it earlier.
Yeah, so pretty much a mineral Kraken. So punches hards, but not much behind him. Your mage is up. You're going in decent into Tia 2.
Yeah, but Tia 2 can still be dangerous. We haven't seen that many dangerous spells or skills, so this, other than that zap out of Carry 2, so this could be bad.
Yeah, glass cannon. Okay, moving that Masa Swinger back down to the 3rd slot. Starting out with, Invis 2 strats again. I think actually the second one was a swing. Stop ineffective against 3 ribbon carriers. Fast goes out. Invis 2 goes out. Didn't get turnover, but Tia did nothing first turn. Swing comes out. This is important. 3 hits, 157, so a little bit dodgy, but pretty good damage. Not huge absorb. This fight is doable. Gets Fade, goes for Fade and Nuke, so hoping for a lower health Tia rather than buffing. This is interesting. That Massa was doing pretty good damage with that fast and a few more tempers or a lock charge. Could continue to get through, but deciding to go for the spell charges instead. Completely out of nukes and fades at this point. Heal 3 gets off, going back up high. Swing comes out, 7 hits, 405, and an absolute paper Tia as well. About 800 health.
LordoftheSynth starting off with those Invis 2s against Kraken, and no party members down yet. Looks like it's faring better so far.
Kyuketsuki preparing for Chaos. Meanwhile, LordoftheSynth doing Lit 3. Not going to do much, but chip damage is going to be good enough against this Kraken. He just has to start swinging. And with that paper Kraken is down. Meanwhile, Kyuketsuki about to take on Chaos. Here we go. Fight. Invis. 2 stacks of Invis and Temper on that Massa Swinger. We'll have to see what Chaos has. Gets good turn order. Invis 2 coming out first. Swirl comes out. Non-elemental, so definitely dangerous, but not enough. That extra little bit of HP paying off, but a little bit low. Definitely within 1 nuke, a full party wipe here. Yep, pulling out the heal 3. Going for Invis 2, and a cast of Temper. So that Massa Wielder ready to go. Chaos giving them a free round. Ink still have not seen a nuke or a nuclear from any of the Fiends. Heal 3 gets off. Chaos giving 2, not quite free rounds, but nothing too dangerous yet. 3 stacks of Invis 2. Going for another heal 3 and another stack of Invis 2. Still has not swung. We do not know what this Chaos has. And there comes out with the nuclear. Takes out the Black Mage, but not before he gets off a Temper and a Fast. Heal 3 comes out. Invis 2 comes out. Up to 4 stacks. Still has the critical Massa swinging Red Mage available. Other one doing heal duties. Oh, looks like Fast did not go out. So there's Fast. Swing goes out. Takes out the remaining Red Mage. That was only 1 hit for 108 and another nuclear. So Chaos does have 2 nuclears. And Kyuketsuki did not even get off a single swing. So does not know what that Chaos has.
Yeah, I think now that we have that knowledge, Chaos was using a skill every turn. I don't think he swung once. So next time around, maybe spend less time on those Invis 2s.
Yeah, Chaos did swing once, I believe. On the 108 damage on the top Red Mage.
Of course. But
still very skill happy, and the skill list is Swirl, Ink, Nuclear, Nuclear. This is going to be tough to get through. Kyuketsuki deciding he needs to grind a little bit more, wants some more HP, but to be honest, going more HP is going to be very difficult to have enough to survive back-to-back nuclears. You know, heal 3 is just not going to cut it when you're taking 200 plus damage for 2 turns in a row.
LordoftheSynth is down to just 1 red wizard, but he gets through Tia 2, and now we're going to see if he's able to one-man down that bad Chaos.
Yeah, so people speaking about loop or bust. So what specifically they're talking about an RNG loop. You have a slightly higher chance of getting into one, I believe, in the 3rd slot, so moving it into there would be helpful. But other than that, it's kind of a hope and a prayer for him at this point. But we'll see if he swings to get some information.
Yeah, now, for a little more detail on an RNG loop. Literally, the RNG loops around, we have sort of a limited table. If you can get yourself all the way up with max evasion, and then you start just swinging, the RNG loop affects not only the rolls for your character, it affects the rolls for the enemy and their AI. So if you can get Chaos into a loop, no such luck.
Yeah, so he went for 2 defense, and then went for a heal, and then another defense. And he just got punched out. He saw only the first skill Swirl. So Chaos not 100% on a skill script. or sorry, not 100% like super skill happy, because he did punch 3 times in a row there.
Yeah, he still has no idea about those 2 nuclears in waiting. And it looks like he's just going straight back in. Kyuketsuki's taking the time to grind feels like a better adjustment.
Yeah. There's some people who say wipe once, but he got all the ways to chaos. Losing 3 party members, he might just think, I just need a little bit more luck here.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. People have gotten through. You know, if you bash your head against a brick wall for long enough, eventually the wall breaks.
Yeah.
So going back to what I was saying about those RNG loops, because it affects what the enemy AI does, if you can get yourself with those full evasion stacks, and then you can get chaos stuck with just physical attacking in that RNG loop, that's the game plan to win.
Is there anything you can do to try and get him specifically into that state?
Basically, I don't know a ton about how to actually get into an RNG loop. You know, I know that it's easier. You're a little more likely to do it from the 3rd slot, but it's basically whole day and pray. You know, I think part of what affects it. Spells that pointing out it has to exist. It might not exist due to RNG shuffle. I didn't even know that came into play. So yeah, I think ultimately it's just a matter of luck.
Yeah, and also I do know that if you put in additional inputs in between, you can break yourself out of it. So if you're hoping and getting one and you do get into one, don't do anything. Just keep pressing A. Just keep fighting. Don't, menu around. On the other hand, if you want to break out of an RNG loop, do menu around. That will help break you out of it.
Well, usually if you're in an RNG loop that you want to break out of, you're doing other stuff anyway.
Yeah. So definitely 2 different strategies here. Kyuketsuki continuing to grind, Lord of the Synth deciding if you bash, as you said, if you bash your head hard enough, eventually you will break the rock. And we could still have a paper chaos. We have not seen yet a single swing on chaos, so we have no idea how much damage we're doing, how many hits we're getting, or even how much health he has. We haven't even seen, he could have, not that it's possible for him to have 100 health, but he could have a very, very low roll to the point where, just a few non-elemental spell charges will get the job done. But we have no idea.
You definitely need to rethink how you handled the other fiends. Every resource that you can hold on to while dealing with them could be your trump card.
Yeah, and this is where I think what Falconic said really comes into play. Carry 2 got hit pretty hard by that Massa with relatively low numbers of buffs. You may be able to get by there, going a little bit more defensive and just swinging that sword.
Looks like Kyuketsuki's leaving, probably to do shopping for something, but what specifically I don't know.
He may be getting wall on all of his party. Oh, no. Is he missing Invis 2 on one of his party members, maybe? No, he's cast triple Invis 2. I'm not sure what he's looking for.
Now, one thing that could be helpful is one of the lock spells to reduce the evasiveness. We did see some not as great hits on that carry, and Chaos, for all we know, could still be very evasive. In fact, that tier 2 might have been evasive, and that's why Kyuketsuki decided to go with throwing out those non-elemental spells.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So definitely a little bit more knowledge, but yeah, I agree. Make sure you have some lock charges somewhere. That definitely can speed up some fights. And also, interestingly enough, neither person used. I don't think I saw a single power bonk on either side.
Oh, I think kyuketsuki did use one, or yeah, I think he did, but because he never really took a swing.
And he saw that lock too and just decided not to pick it up. So may these players, both having been around for a while, may not be used to the fact that lock does actually now work. So in the original game, lock, I believe it almost never hit, and even when it did hit, it actually increased the enemy's evade. In this game, with the new patches applied, it does work. So it does actually reduce their evade and can be a big play.
Certainly a possibility. Kyuketsuki just trying to scrounge around for any charges he could find.
Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth, that one non-ribbon carrier red mage, getting hit by that zap. Lord of the Synth being much more conservative with their spell charges here. Using some, not so critical ones, but he does not even have any cast of nuke on that black mage.
Yeah, so we got a question in chat. Is Xfer available? I do not remember if we saw it or where it would be if we did. Xfer is a pretty interesting spell because it removes your opponent's resistances. It doesn't make them easier to hit. It doesn't lower their magic defense. It just removes those resistances. But against Chaos, that can be pretty significant, especially for the Brack spell. With his resistances up, Chaos, you need a 3 and 256 to successfully Brack Chaos. After an Xfer, you have about a 6% chance to pull it off. Now, an Xfer itself, for Xfer to go off itself, it isn't guaranteed, but that's actually a 25% chance to hit on Chaos. So, if you do have a few charges of Xfer, that can, help give you an alternative win condition. But again, while we have a ton of those Brack charges, a 6% chance doesn't feel great. A 6% chance after a 25 or 26% chance.
Meanwhile, we have both runners making their dive at around the same time. So for kyuketsuki, actually for both runners, this is round 3, I believe.
Yep. Rojo Vision in chat. Xfer actually is has the same level of accuracy as Nuke and Fade.
So yeah, kyuketsuki having about a 7 level advantage here, so that's pretty big. He has a lot more HP, but not what I would consider enough HP to survive Nuke.
Wow.
The spell charges absolutely do help, though, and you can see on Lord of the Synth side, I don't believe he even has Fade or Nuke, on his red mages or his black mage.
No, and he hasn't gotten those levels up either. Again, not seeing that nuclear and then just kind of bouncing off of different things in Topher, I think is part of the reason why.
So let's see what plans our runners have now to approach these various Fiend fights. I think in any case, there's going to need to be some luck. There is no getting through any of this without luck, but kyuketsuki definitely in a better position, but at this point I think strategy is so important. How do I play around those rolls? What do I need to go right? And if it goes right, how do I take advantage of it? Those are the types of thoughts I think that have to go through your head when you're in a difficult situation like this.
Yeah, I think if you can't get yourself up to enough levels to survive 2 nuclears, which I'm not as familiar with nuclear. I know that it's basically like a Fade, but I don't know what it can max roll. I just think getting to the point where you can survive both of them reliably is pretty. It's going to take a lot of time. It could be that rather than going for the survival strats, you've just got to go for those rush strats again.
Yeah, so both runners on the same floor there temporarily. Kyuketsuki gets through Lich without expending much. Lord of the Synth going with the harm strats makes sense. Not using any charges of things that he's going to need later. And this Lich does get pushed over pretty easily. Punches for 17 whole damage, so Lich really not doing much. And with that, Lich is down. Kyuketsuki, meanwhile, about to take on Carry.
Right, Carry is the first drain on our resources. That zap hopefully doesn't get our ribbonless party member.
Kyuketsuki making the adjustment with the wall.
Now that is a smart adjustment. Can't believe I didn't think of it, or neither of our runners did either. But coming up with it now is definitely the answer to this fight.
Yeah, because we know that Zap is her first spell, so it is likely to come out, especially when you're going to be going for chip damage and swing. And there we go, Zap comes out, and that is a free round because of that wall. So you spend one of your 4 party members' turns in order to give everyone else an extra round without any fear of a party member going down. Carry once again, lit 2, not going to do much through that wall and that ribbon, so this is a good strategy so far. Very minimal investment, and just going to be relying on swings, and this looks like a great fight so far for Kyuketsuki. This should do it here. And there we go. With that, Carry 2 is down with minimal resource usage. So that's a great fight, and that's a great sign for Kyuketsuki. He's making the adjustments he make, dealing with the hand he's been dealt. We'll see how the Kraken fight goes, because that Kraken fight, unfortunately for him, there's a lot of luck involved. Who does that Kraken punch? Can you get off the invis stacks first? How many misses does Kraken have, even if you get all 3 invis stacks off?
Yeah, and meanwhile, the rest of the water floor is still going to drain your heal potions further. We haven't had too much of a problem with running out of them so far, so it's more of an annoyance than anything else, but it is something to be mindful of.
Lord of the Synth, meanwhile, about to take on Carry 2 for the 3rd time. Let's see if he makes any adjustments. So going... Okay, Invis, and Power Bonk. So Carry does hit hard when she gets through, but I believe Lord of the Synth also knows there's a zap coming, so we'll see if he makes that wall adjustment. Not great turn order, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think if we were going to see a wall adjustment, it would have to be on turn 1. I don't even know. Oh, that's the red mage with wall.
Yeah. One thing I don't love here either is that his Massa Wielder is in slot 1. He got punched, so just a little bit extra playing on the edge, but getting some good turn order. And Carry punching again, that's good. Those Invis 2 charges paying off, and let's see how this swing goes.
Kyuketsuki is on the Kraken fight and decides to go for those rush strats, knowing that Kraken 2 is paper. We're going full out fades and nukes, but those are not enough. One red mage goes down. Gotta hope turn order is kinder this time.
Yeah, but this should do it here. Yeah, and there we go. With that, Kraken is down. I like these adjustments. I think that's a good strategy for Kraken. Yes, he could have swung and taken a little longer, save a few more resources, but I think at this point you have to save a few. You save resources on on Tia 2. You know that Kraken takes down anyone he punches, and even a few stacks of Invis 2 are not going to cut it. So get through fast, get through before he can do much damage. And honestly, that Kraken could have gone down with the HP that he has, just to 2 fades and a nuke if you had turn order and a little bit of luck.
Yep, although, again, extra being about a 26 chance, those fades and nukes also have a 26 chance of rolling to hit. Now, with damage spells, they always do damage, but what that accuracy roll does is affects how much damage it actually ends up being, which can be significant. Oh, and it turns out Tiamat had a nuclear this whole time.
Yeah, so we haven't seen that yet, so that's a new fact, but kyuketsuki trying to go defensive here. Heal, temper, so trying to live a little bit longer. This is risky. We'll have to see what Tia has in store here. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth about to pull... Oh, and Tia has Blizzard too, but that's not doing much. 7 hits, 516. Gotta keep swinging, keep swinging. Come on, try and outdamage him. Oh, Tia has back to... Oh my goodness.
Nuclear, Blizzard, nuclear. Oh my gosh. Well, that is pretty heartbreaking, especially because neither of our runners had seen that so far. And so for it to show up just, when it seemed like Kyuketsuki had it all figured out is a real wrench in the plans.
Lord of the Synth getting some good luck here on this Kraken fight. Going with the Bane strats. Okay, Kyuketsuki casting fast. Casting Saber. Down to 16 HP. Hoping to one-punch him, and he's down. That is unfortunate. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth getting through Kraken with no real troubles.
Yep, it's gonna depend on whether he sees that surprise nuclear or not.
Yeah, and he has not seen that yet, so there's not really much way to prepare.
Well, we say that he hasn't seen it. I don't know if he possibly did on his first time through, and that's why he was down to just one red mage.
Yeah, so Falconic saying in chat, speed and power, but speed and power is difficult when you have no fades, no nukes, a massive swinging red mage. Even speed and power is not going to be doing that much damage that quickly.
Those Invis 2s lead me to believe he may not have seen that nuclear.
He figured that Bane strats worked on carry 1. Let's see if they'll work on Tia 2. No luck so far. Stop? Not the worst thing to see.
No, but I think stop is elemental. So that was a 3 and 256 we had just there.
Fire 3, elemental as well, not doing much. Yes, Bane can always hit, but very, very unlikely.
Yeah, as it turns out, Tier 2 and Chaos's magic defense are so high that even if you X for Bane's odds do not get better.
And with that that swing does it. So Lord of the Synth getting through with 2 party members and a bunch of luck because he never saw that nuclear again.
Make that 3 party members. The Black Mage is there too.
Yeah. Come on, Synth. Get through before we hit the 3-hour mark. So Chaos does punch, but doesn't punch super hard. But at the end of that skill list, we have back-to-back nuclears. Okay, starting off with Invis and fast. Yes, come on, and defense. Okay, so going defensive strats. Doesn't know that there's nuclears waiting. So yes, this evasion stacking will help. Starting off with a skill, that's not what you want to see. Not because Swirl's so dangerous, because that brings him one step closer to nuclear. Okay, 1 healing, but only has 1 charge of heal 3 left. This Black Mage not going to be able to do much. Chip damage at best. And that bottom Red Mage is going to be pretty close to evasion capped. So Falconic asking in chat, he didn't buy Temper? No, and he doesn't really have the levels to cast level 7 or 8 spells anyways. Trying to figure out what to do. Casting heal 2, and nuclear is on the docket. Could still get a swing. We've seen that it's not a 100% skill usage Chaos, but this is going to be bad. Please swing. Oh no, and he's still playing it slow. Bane strats. There was his best shot. Nuclear comes out. Takes out the Black Mage, but that Black Wizard wasn't doing much anyways. Start swinging. Come on. Come on. No, swing. And the second nuclear, and that's going to take out the Massa Wielder. Not much chance. Come on, Bane strats. Bane Brack. Swirl comes out, finishes him. Oh my goodness.
Oof.
This seed.
Well, it might be a while before we see either of these runners do another all-mage run.
Yeah. Lord of the Synth now has all the information he needs, and he is going to go grind.
He is. I don't know if he looked at the Northwest. I guess both players must have.
Yeah, so Kayla pointing out in chat, double swirl, double nuclear. It's actually swirl something nuclear, nuclear, and then back around to swirl, but yeah, you're going to be seeing...
I believe it's swirl, ink, nuclear, nuclear.
Yeah. So... And it's a skill-happy chaos as well. So not a good sign for our runners, running this squishy, non-ideal, nuke at level 8, fade at level 7, temper at level 7, all mage comp. Yeah, chaos almost certainly on the War Mech script, as Simple Sarah is pointing out.
Yeah, it's interesting because we didn't see any of the usual suspects for the early game. You know, we saw Death Touch Fires in Volcano, and also on the the trap tile in front of the throne in Ordeals that were also unrunnable, but and a few things with trance and stone poison. I forget what exactly had those, but we ran into them a few times. It's, you know, we didn't really see Topher dive until pretty close to the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, it was the cats with trance and stone poison.
That's right, the Catmen.
Chap talking about, you know, do we solo grind a Massa Wielder up to level 50? And honestly, at this point, that is not a bad plan. You can Dan off these characters, not easily, but you can, you know, go run around in Volcano, as Caleb is saying, or do a number of other things to get these party members killed off to try and just get that Massa Wielder up to level 50, or somewhere very high, and just try and swing your way to victory.
And the other thing chat pointing out is these, or actually Cyranus, our restreamer, pointing out the sandworms are already running away. Sandworms, not generally known for their morale. It's one of the reasons why they make for a good black belt grind, is you can put a low-level party member in front who's, you know, down. And because it's only the front characters' levels that matter for that morale check, they won't end up running away even as your black belt gets stronger and stronger with each fight. Unfortunately here, because our levels are spread across all the characters, this is it's, you know, it doesn't look like they're running too much, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time.
Okay, so kyuketsuki on Tier 2 with 4 party members up. This is a decent chance here. Knows to swing, knows to go fast, fade, temper, and trying to just get this Tia down. And with that, they're down. Okay, so kyuketsuki with a great chance here on Chaos. He knows he has to go fast, though. That is the key to this Chaos. We have to see what is happening. We have to see if we can get him down so quickly that he does not have a chance to go nuclear, swirl, nuclear, nuclear, swirl again.
This is the first time we've had all 4 party members on Chaos. We had a question in chat asking what's going on. Is this a speed run? This is, in fact, a race. This is the Final Fantasy Randomizer. It moves a lot of things around, and they've started from the start of the game almost 3 hours ago till the point you see now. This is the final boss, who has been the true gatekeeper of the seed, and kyuketsuki is trying to find the path to victory. casting those invis and tempers to buff up his primary damage dealer. Round 2 or turn 2, looking to be similar, throwing out a heal and more buffs. But at some point, we really got to start swinging.
Yeah, so he has at least 3 turns, and now he still has 3 turns until he gets nuclear, because he still has a swirl and an ink. So this is a good shot right now, getting the luck he needs. And we have to see what this Chaos is packing. We have never swung at Chaos, and we're about to see our first swing at Chaos, and it is 3 hits for 386, so use that lock. I don't think he's picked it up, though, but that is really unfortunate, because the lack of lock is really going to hurt the damage output. Doesn't matter how many times you temper, doesn't matter how many times...
It looked like he did not cast fast yet, so he's corrected that now we should be seeing more damage.
Oh, he hasn't cast fast? Okay, that's not nearly so bad. Okay, swirl coming out, so he is an ink away from nuclear. Yeah, Falconic pointing on chat, always cast fast before temper, and that is 100% true. Swing comes out, 7 hits, 1,286 damage. This is doable, needs turn order for probably 2 turns in a row. 1 hit could do it, though, because he is still 2 turns away from nuclear. Chaos, more than 2,000 HP. But this Red Mage is swinging hard. This Chaos does not have a ton of defense. Chaos swings! We're still turns away from nuclear. This is looking good. Kyuketsuki on the home stretch. Come on, Kyo. Swing. And with that, Chaos goes down with an official SRL time of... I do not see the dot done.
The official SRL time is 2 hours, 50 minutes, and 10 seconds. Kyuketsuki has terminated Chaos and won this race. LordoftheSynth, understandably, is forfeiting. And saying, remind me to never take one of your suggestions ever again.
And unfortunately, we will have to cut the stream without an interview, but thank you for all of you who stuck around. This was a fantastic race, and man, oh man, this really shows you what happens when you draft and when you have to figure out how can I win. And at the end of the day, Kyuketsuki managed to get it done. So GG to everyone. Thank you very much for watching.